That's Bandcamp that let you do that?
Bandicam. Yeah.
Bandicam. I keep thinking the
If you watch
part.
like YouTube videos in like 2012, I feel like there's a lot of YouTube videos that had like the Bandicam like a watermark on them where people like recorded something off like TV.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I got your
Yeah, the
book
only-
up.
Huh?
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was going to say the only thing is that I can't record my audio through Bandicam, so I'm having to record that separately through Audacity, but that's whatever. I do that for gaming already.
So when it like after this call, if I want to like watch this recording back, how
I'm
we're
going
gonna
to
have, like, two separate.
No.
Okay.
So I'm going to do all the editing on the video and then send it to you. So I'm just going to put the video file and my audio into Vegas Studio Pro and then just render it.
Okay.
So it'll just all be in one
Perfect.
thing.
When you're putting the video together, make sure to put lots of like star wipes in, and like just cool. John knows stuff like that. He can help it out. But more
I think
star
we have
wipes.
an octagon, like from the middle transition out.
Yeah. I want it to end on like a like an iris circle on me. Then I want to like do a kind of that's all folks, or like a wink, something like that. We can figure that out later in post.
Oh, we need to do that way more. That's way too good. I was just thinking of one constant, endless, like screensaver-esque, like dissolve transition into the next picture over the course of like 5 seconds for each dissolve. So it's like no steady picture, just waves of dissolving pictures. Like
it takes the entirety of the discussion about that picture, the first picture, to like actually get to the next picture.
Yeah, can you record it so like I'm a little bouncing head like a DVD player? I can just like go from like corner to corner, and we can like figure that out.
I definitely don't have the video editing skills to do it myself, but I will see what I can do.
We'll do it in post.
Okay.
Should we? I'm just thinking now. Should we like? No, I was going to say, should we have the stuff that we're talking about on screen? Like, should I be sharing a screen where you can like see the stuff we're talking about? But
that would be dope, actually.
Yeah,
I think that would be really good to have the picture that we're talking about.
Okay. Cool. I can share my screen with all like the art in there. And if you're like talking about a specific one, I can like get it up and we can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me share my screen. No, I want to share like my how do I share my like window? Can you can you guys see this? It's just like Google Drive folder.
Yep.
And if I like click on one and like click on the art thing, can you still see that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. That would be a good way to like
Okay, yeah.
Can you see that okay, John?
Totally, yeah. No, I can. It just wasn't loading first.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll have that up so I can like find things out as we go.
Okay, are we going over that folder that you sent us?
Yeah, this should be the same folder that you've looked at before.
Okay, but not the curated one. This is just all the art?
Yes, you just saw the art. Did I send you this one? That was just everything.
You did send me that one, but you also sent me ones that I thought might be the ones you picked for your book. So I didn't know if you wanted to go over those specifically or just all the art, but I'm down.
No, I was thinking.
And I also have it up on my computer to like look through.
Smart. Yeah. I did put like a curated folder together for you. Then I was like, well, wait a minute. Like the whole point of the call is to like see which pieces you're attracted to, so we talk about those ones, and not like what I'm thinking we should talk about. I'm more interested in like hearing what like a strangers think we should like talk about.
I don't think I actually have access to this big folder, but that's fine. I'm more than fine just reacting to what I see on screen because I haven't seen any of it.
Oh, did I not send you the folder? Did I not send you the link?
You sent me the work in progress book.
Oh shit, Kyle! I'm like a moron.
I think I sent him the one that you first sent me, right? You had like 30 pictures in the one I sent you, Kyle. Yeah.
Okay. Do you Do you want the link now, or do you want to just go through it as is?
I'm fine
it
just
as
going
is.
through it as is, because
Yeah.
I don't think it would be much help for me to just have all of them at the moment anyway.
Yeah, I think it might be nice getting like your first reactions or like a outsider kind of perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, and
Just
I got
throw 'em
a
at me.
strong 2 hours to commit to this. It's soft though, so if we need to go longer to finish, for sure. But just trying to give you so I don't like pull it on you if we're like in the later on. But I think we should have like plenty of time.
Yeah, so it's a strong, soft 2 hours. I'm going to take silence as acknowledgement. Do you need like a sound thing to say when we're recording, Kyle? So you can match up your audio to the video audio.
Oh, I did that right when I started recording, so it should be fine.
So we're recording now.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Do we have a specific way we want to kind of talk through it, or can I just go through like roughly kind of piece section by section and see what we think?
Yeah, I kind of am down for that. Just start with like adventure or whatever, and then
Yeah.
we'll go through because I had questions like in that folder already.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll start with this adventure folder. And it's split into locations and characters. I'll just show the locations first. You'll need a couple of those. So this is the first one. Let me try and zoom in. I was not looking. But yeah, this is the first one I made.
This is the first one that you made?
Yeah, for the adventure. And this is, I think it might have been, in fact, this was the hardest one to make for the adventure. I like was stuck in it for a long time. But yeah, this was like made in December, working on it on like Christmas Day. Very fun and cool.
Yeah,
Not
I was gonna
really
say.
that
So,
hard.
did this? What role does this play like in the book exactly? Like, is this like a
Yeah,
place that they actually go to?
yeah. So like in the adventure, there's like pre-written locations, obviously, and this is like a mining facility, like like on an asteroid planet, asteroid belt. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's kind of like some asteroid stuff in the background. They gave me like a description, which is like fairly unusual for how it worked throughout the book. But for these three locations, and they gave me like a description of what they wanted. Whereas for most pieces, they were like, sort of do whatever you want. But this one was like specifically mining, and like a mining outpost on the moon with like asteroids kind of blasted off. And this was kind of like fairly run down, so it's like not top of the line. We did try to like get out of here.
Gotcha. I was
Yeah.
wondering about that as I was looking at it. I was like, what kind of planet has like asteroids in the atmosphere? But if
Yeah,
it's like
it's,
on an asteroid, that's really
yeah.
cool.
I think it's supposed to be like a moon or like on like an asteroid. Which I tried to like get the texture of like the ground is like a photograph of like somewhere in Morocco, so it's not quite like a moon or an asteroid, but it's kind of like a weird sand texture. It doesn't really make sense if you think about it, but it's sort of like vibes well, which is like what I'm going
Yeah.
for.
I mean, I think it's like, honestly, who knows what planets look like? Like, let's be
Yeah,
real.
yeah,
No, I think that's
yeah.
really
Like my main thing throughout the book is like it doesn't have to feel it doesn't have to be real. It just has to feel real. Like it doesn't matter if it makes sense. It just has to kind of feel like it makes sense. So like it has to like feel right and vibe right and get like the right mood. That's like way more important to me than like making something like scientifically make sense.
No, totally. I love that because I think it's like that's what they're going to be drawn in by first. The thing I was going to say
Yeah,
though is like immediately when I see this, just seeing like all of the other pieces, like I wonder if it was like earlier in the timeline because it's like I see the elements of the art style that like is throughout Orbital Blues, but this one specifically, like if you gave me like 10 of the other images or whatever, this one to me kind of stands out a little bit more. And I think for me, it's like the really hard like lines and the like square building and stuff. So I would love to know like what your art inspiration was, between like the planet and the buildings, or even just like why did you make them the shape that they are for like a mining
yeah,
facility? Like what was like the
yeah,
story in your head of this place going on, or like what did you want to
yeah. So
capture, I
like,
guess?
this was I think I'd done like 40 pieces before I got to this one. This was like quite late in the process. This was like
Mm,
December 2020. and like the most of the other stuff was like early 2020. So I've been like working quite a while on this. My kind of thinking of this was like most of it would be underground. Like that's where like the vast majority of like the mining itself is going on. Then everything up top is sort of like landing areas and just like venting areas and just kind of like communications things. I made it. I think I made it square because I'd have to check the description that Sam gave me, but I'm pretty sure Sam was like it's blocky and angular, and my thinking was the same. Like I didn't want it to look like um, sort of like slick domes or like anything that was like rounded surfaces. I wanted it to look like a factory now, but like it's just on the moon. So like that's why I went for like things should be like harsh lines.
Mm-hmm.
This they're actually like this is all made out of like a dozen or so photographs. Like the buildings are made from like a tiny photograph of like I think it's like an air vent or something that I've like stretched out and like painted up. I'll get like when I put in the book, I'll put out like the original like tiny photograph that it came from. But yeah, once I made a couple, I was like, well, I'm just gonna go with towers, and because they're like fairly easy to replicate, I could like kind of do those a few times. But yeah, my main thinking was like everything's underground and it's like incredibly barren on the surface.
That's awesome. That's super cool. That's exactly the kind of thing I would want to know about too, because it makes sense. And then in my head, like I start to fill in gaps, like, oh, they want it to like not be confusing for people trying to land. Like they're having like really distinct objects, because like round things are
Yeah,
pretty normal in nature, and it's
like
like
in
the
the
high.
future, it's like photos is like the photo use is like really minimal, which is what I like to kind of get down to.
Cool. And like for Reno 12, I know you gave us the general like feel and gist of the place, but were there any other like things you kind of were imagining in this like this landscape or
Yeah,
this place? Like I guess I don't really know how much like Reno 12 is like actually a place that will be given a lot of information about to talk about. But you kind of are
yeah,
creating the world, that we see. So I'm always just like, where did your brain go?
yeah. Like in in like the adventure, this is in like a pre-written adventure, and they did give like a brief description of it. But like one thing I really wanted to put in is if you see on like the sand, it says like Reno 12 like on the ground. I don't know if you can see
Hmm.
that. Yeah. And my kind of thinking about that was this like settlement has been like in my mind was kind of like passed over. Maybe there's like a couple of planets away has like a bigger settlement. So now nobody visits Reno 12. So in my mind, they had like carved out the name of their town in the sand. So it was like visible from like the atmosphere. So like people knew there was something there, so they wouldn't like pass it by. And I originally had it like this is kind of a little bit of a fight in that they didn't want that, but I really like the idea of them like just writing the name of their town in sand so people wouldn't forget about it. And like I originally had it written like in actual kind of like sand, more like sand writing, and we kind of
Yeah.
compromised where they wanted it to look like. We eventually got down to they wanted it to be like printed in the sand, which to me isn't like quite as effective as like handwritten in the sand. But yeah, that was like a thing that
Yeah.
I really wanted to get in there was like this settlement's like vanished or like they don't want to be forgotten. So like they're kind of
Oh,
writing
that's
their name
super
in the
cool.
sand that people like would kind of remember that they're there.
That's, yeah,
I was thinking of.
metaphorically, I love that. Sorry, go on. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say that made a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense to me because like towns have like their little like town signs like welcome to
Yeah, yeah,
Portland or whatever. I feel like you would run into the same thing like with planet colonies, and they would
yeah,
necessarily need to be on a bigger scale if you're coming to them from space.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's really
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, thanks. I really liked it because it's like instead of a sign like on a road, you have a sign like on the ground because they're like you're coming in vertically instead of like
Airplanes.
horizontally. It's like I wanted to make sure it's kind of a fight because they didn't include that in their original description, but I was like, I want it in.
Mhm.
So it ended up
Yeah, dude,
being there.
I love that.
Sweet. Okay. And then the
I would
final oh, go ahead.
one more. Yeah, so yeah, with the story going back through Reno 12 and stuff, like upon first impression, it was like, yeah, a little bit like, oh, why is there this like military print thing on the ground? I was like, is this some sort of just like strictly military facility? It's just logistical. But I love that it's like, they're kind of like desolate. They're like one of like stops along the way sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I really would have loved, yeah, I love your idea with the sand writing, because I think that's like
I will
really, really cool.
like I think I'll just include that in the book as like an alternate take because like it definitely looks a lot better. Cause well, I'm not going to say this in the book. That looks better, but like I'll be more diplomatic. But it's definitely like it looks like writing in the sand, which is what I wanted it to look like, rather than like if I had done
Like
this way, I
printed
would
on
like,
top of it.
yeah, I would have changed this. So it would have been like a road sign, so it looked like a sign on the ground. I think sand writing or a sign on the ground, but we kind of compromised on like written on the ground, which
Yeah.
isn't great to me, but it still gets kind of the vibe across, I think.
Kind of makes
Yeah,
me
I think
feel
the vibe
like
is definitely captured in it.
yeah. It makes me think of like the whole concept of like glassing from like Halo, you know, where they'll like use
Yeah,
like plasma.
yeah,
Almost
yeah.
yeah.
That's what I was kind of thinking. Like maybe this was like an old. If this is supposed to be in the same system as that big mining thing. I was like,
Mhm.
well, maybe they've got like mining equipment hanging around, and that like some kind of like big cutter or laser, and that's like how they carve their name in the ground.
Mhm.
Yeah. So these three are all supposed to be in the same like system. So I wanted to have like some kind of they kind of roughly feel like they exist like in the same area.
Gotcha.
Um,
Wait,
the
we have to
final
talk about the settler orbital. Yeah, this thing's crazy.
Yeah, this is like the final one for the adventure. And the like description they gave for me was like this is like a bustling space station that's sort of like barely holding it together. Like it's kind of decrepit and falling apart. But it's like a big kind of like this is like the hub for these systems that kind of wanted to make this look kind of like bad, but in a kind of a nice way.
I
I
was
went
gonna
Yeah.
say it looks like it's being held together by duct tape.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of my thing. It's actually based on a photograph of like a NASA satellite or something, but with like a ton of stuff put on and kind of taken away, and all these kind of like
Mhm.
lines and things. And the spaceship on like beneath where it says Titus Lock, there's like a spaceship. And that's the same spaceship I used on the mining thing. It's like literally the same thing. I just like didn't want to make a new one after I'd made some that I quite liked.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, it's in the same system. Maybe it
Yeah,
went to
makes
Reno and
sense.
then it went to the gas station.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel like I get a lot of like '60s like diner vibes from this. Is that what you were going for?
Yeah, that was kind of like a big when we started the project was like a big watchword or like a bit the big theme was like that it should feel like it's the 60s and 70s but in space.
Mhm.
I wanted to look it not to look like too slick. It won't it like deliberately is supposed to look like kind of like shitty kind of 60s stuff but in space.
Mhm.
And also, like one thing that was like stressed from the beginning was like this is a universe kind of saturated with advertising. Like there's
Mhm.
kind of like advertising stuff everywhere. So I kind of like tried to make sure I got a lot of that kind of on this one.
Nice. Well, I
Yeah,
think you succeeded.
yeah, I was gonna ask because I really have noticed that sort of pattern of this, like, space exploration, and it's like mostly like pretty scary and serious, and it's like military folks are in space. But now it's like this is the first picture out of these bunch that kind of shows me like, oh, it's commercial too. Like they're trying to make it like silly and kind of fun and like exclamation
Yeah.
marks and cool colors and stuff. So it's like, what is the world where like this is like a casual place, I guess, or I guess like what is the advertising all about? Like what is the world? I guess, yeah, because it's like super
Yeah,
serious
like
space station maybe, and then like
yeah, like
colorful
in
60s
my
advertising.
thinking that this was like maybe when this was like originally built, it was like a fairly standard serious kind of space station. But as it's become kind of like more run down, maybe the station is like more reliant on advertising money to like keep it all together. And my kind of theory was that all these kind of signs are advertising stuff that's happening kind of within. And so like you can buy like your motor oil, or you can like shop at like these stores and stuff, or stop at spots now. Like all of that's like inside the station. And so that was kind of my thinking of that is like they've had to take like advertising money to like stay afloat, otherwise it would like literally just kind of fall out of the sky. Which I think was sort of like the description I was given for it was that it would kind of fall out of the sky pretty soon.
Gotcha. So they're kind of a glorified like gas station in space.
Yeah, this is like kind of your motel kind of gas station. It's kind of like a this is like the central hub for the system. So kind of people gather here and then go off to like Reno 12 or to kind of like the industrial mining stuff.
Okay, got you. So it's like a yeah, kind of like a cheap motel in space sort of thing. I love
Yeah,
it.
kind of like a mall with a like motel kind of thing. That was kind of the vibe we were going for.
I think too, yeah, when I look at this, I want to know like how many people can even fit in there? Is it like as big as a mall? Is it as big as like a city? Like what's the
Yeah,
traffic
this is
like?
like the stuff where it's in space is I would sort of like I would think it's kind of tricky to do scale because there's nothing to
Yeah.
like contrast it against, just like blackness. On the book, I kind of zoom in past, but like if you see like in the middle of the structure, there's like a black rectangle.
Okay.
I don't know if you that's supposed to be like a kind of landing bay or like a big docking bay, and if you kind of on that, there's like a grey dot, and that's like a small
Yeah,
ship
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of land. I was told that it was supposed to be like a big place, so it's kind of hard to
Big place.
discern what big is like when there's like nothing around it. Usually, I would just put like a little person standing by, and if like, oh yeah, that means it's big. But this was a little tricky.
Yeah.
I want to try and communicate the fact that it's like huge. I don't know if I really got it. I don't know.
I think, but that's the thing with like a picture, it gets like what a picture can get across. Like I don't think you can convey like how many people are in there, or if it's like cramped, or all these like just little
Yeah,
things your brain wonders about when you look at an image. Maybe like
yeah.
fill in
Well,
some little details, I
yeah.
guess.
I mean, also like this because this is like part of the adventure. Like there's like literally a page of description about this thing. So like they're hopefully going to kind of work well together. So you'll be able to read how many people
Oh,
there,
okay.
see what it looks like.
Yeah. I
That's not
never
the
know
case
what's
with
like
most pieces in
explained
the
already.
book. No, that's just the adventure stuff. And like most pieces in the book isn't there's like not text explaining it, but like for the adventure there is.
Gotcha. So this is like a integral part of it. Because yeah, other than that, yeah, I think it's a really good piece. I like that it's all like stitched together. I think there's a lot of good
Hmm.
like story behind it because it really does look like NASA stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one kind of my thinking that I would be like 60 NASA stuff in space, but then like over the years it's got like run down and they've had to like stick a ton of like tape and like wires and things. I'm not sure how wires would hang in space because like that's not how space would work. There's like nothing for it to hang on, but like that's kind of the vibe I'm going for by including like wires and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It looks like it's stitched together too, like it's taken a bunch of
Yeah,
different parts from different places.
Yeah. I was gonna say, just going back to the whole like military focus thing, like I think that's a really good point, and I think like I haven't seen a ton of the artwork for this, but I think that's something that I've noticed too is that this seems like a lot more like it's running with the idea of um like if corporations were the ones that got us into like the space frontier or whatever, which I
yeah,
don't think is a very I at least haven't seen that explored nearly as much as the whole like, oh yeah, it's the Earth military navy is what's
yeah.
going to be helping us
Totally,
colonize.
Yeah,
totally.
that's definitely kind of what we're going for. That's kind of been in there since the beginning, so I'm glad you kind of picked up on that. Is that like space is like ruled by
Hmm.
space is like controlled by corporations. Like it's literally kind of you just kind of sandwiched between corporations and
Yeah.
like countries and planets even don't even matter that much compared to like corporations, which is kind of like the thing.
Yeah. Well, and especially
Yeah,
nowadays, because
cool.
like corporations rule the world, basically.
Yeah. Like why would they stop at like the world? Why don't they just keep going to like the universe or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, and make all these cheeky, happy like signs they staple, like in real life. You see all these
Yeah,
happy, gritty signs everywhere.
the
Yeah,
color
and
people.
I feel like that plays into the whole idea of this place falling apart too, because like a military station you would think would be maintained up to code.
Yeah.
Granted, from what I've heard, that's not always the case, but I can definitely see a corporation maintaining this sort of facility, like cutting a lot more corners than like a military
Yeah,
would.
yeah, like they're kind of not interested in it unless it's like turning a profit. And like some of
Yeah.
the pieces you'll see kind of later on, I've tried to like emphasize the idea of like there's lots of advertising saying like how great things are, but like the reality of things are like pretty garbage. And
Oh,
corporations are
like real
trying to like
life.
yeah, exactly
Yeah.
like corporations are trying to like paint kind of happy face on it. And we just hear like it's like gaudy advertising on like I think that's clearly like in bad shape.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's super cool. And that really captures the mood. Like before I understand anything, I get the mood from like the text of the writing and then this like kind of rundown ship, which I think is like
Yeah.
in an at a glance, it's already like an interesting thing to look at.
Yeah. Sweet. Okay. Let me quickly show some of like the characters I made for the adventure. Probably won't go through all of these just because like the techniques in making them are like fairly similar. I'll just go through like a couple of kind of the more interesting ones. So for this, this is another case where like for these 6 characters, I was like given a description of what they should look like. So like for the adventure, those 3 locations of these 6 characters, those are pretty much the only things where I was like told specifically like make it look like this. So kind of these were the ones where I was like following rules. And they kind of gave me descriptions for these. So these were a little easier, or not easier, but a little kind of more straightforward. So this one is let's see, the body is one photograph, the neck and head is a different photograph. There's some like wrinkles around the forehead and the eyebrows that eyes. They're from like a third photograph, and I think the scar is from like another photograph. Then like I obviously added on like I painted in a black eye, and I painted in like blood, and like thickened the beard and put some gray around the temples, and I like painted in those kind of like stitches on his forehead as well.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Before I ask a stupid question, are these characters explained, their backstories and stuff?
I think I have looked at the adventure, but I don't think they're given like backstories. No, these are like these characters are supposed to be like player characters. So you open the book and like it's supposed to like here are the 6 characters you can choose to play as in this like little adventure. But I kind of had like stuff on my mind, even though I knew that like Sam and Zach were like doing character stuff. I had an idea of like what these 6 people would be like. And for me, like
That's
this
what I
guy,
want. Yeah.
this guy's like the charmer. So like I try to put him in like a nice suit and kind of stuff like that. Whereas like some of the other characters, um, like this person's like kind of like a brawler, like a fighter. So I try to like do that in the attitude, like no smiles, kind of like kind of squared up, kind of angry faces.
Yeah, the
Um,
haircut too.
yeah, like I try to like for all these, I try to like some of them are like this one's like again a case of like the head and the body are from like 2 different photographs and I like stuck them together. And the good thing about this and all of these was I have like this kind of like a police kind of board in the middle, so I could like hide all like the neck
Yeah,
and
yeah.
lines. That was like the perfect place to like hide all my themes. Like I was really lucky to like, those in here. But yeah, for these,
Yeah,
we get
it
straight.
works well.
It was just a case of like hunting down the right photos, putting them together, and then like adding things or like taking things away, and then at the end, kind of giving everything like a rough kind of painting over it, just so it like feels a little more painterly and kind of matches some of the rest of the book.
I was
Yeah, it
gonna
feels
say
like
it's a testament to your skill that I cannot tell like what you've like these all look like very uniform and like
Yeah,
everything has been added like you've added. I assume that you've added is like on there so seamlessly that like if you just told me like that like this was like one photograph that you just like painted like I
yeah,
wouldn't question
yeah.
it.
Like this one, the head and the body are from a different like 2 different photographs, and like I painted in like the part of the hair, and, like put in the like all the everything. Everyone that has like a wound or like a black eye or a bruise or anything, I put those in. Like put in freckles and scars and kind of things like that, just so I can give them. I wanted everyone to out like the description wasn't for people to look beat up, but I was like people in this universe like they get beat up. Like people in this universe aren't having like a good time, and that kind of feeling was that these were like kind of like a knockabout, kind of like a ne'er do well, kind of like scruffy, kind of scoundrel crew. So I was like, yeah, and like fights all the time. So like I gave everybody like a wound or a black eye or kind of anything like that. And
yeah,
that's kind
yeah,
of
I
my
like it.
yeah, cool. Yes, these 6 were like those adventures and locations where all like in the like the pre-written adventure that comes in the main book, but the rest of this stuff is like just regular art. So the rest of this stuff I wasn't given like any descriptors in the way that I was for those. So let me just grab. We'll start with like the exteriors because that's where I'm starting the book.
What I was sorry, what I was gonna say about those characters too, though,
Yeah.
if you have the chance in your book, I would love to see how they were constructed, just because it really is so seamless. Like, every single one of these things, like the paintings and this the art and all these photo things, like it is crazy how seamless it all really does come together. And those people, I think, like even more, like how much you've done to them. I absolutely thought they were like just like one layer, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah, I really like to show them off because like once you kind of like, it's really fun like seeing like two different photographs, like a body and a head, like seeing how they were like put together. Yeah, because they're like fairly different. Some of them like from different angles and like different all kinds of things. So yeah, so like this section, these are all like exteriors. So like these are like on planets or like inside space stations, but these are all basically like outdoors images. So the first one was the gas station, which I think was a pretty early one. They were like, if we're going with like a 60s, 70s vibe, then we should have like gas stations everywhere. Even though like a single solitary gas station on like a planet doesn't quite make sense. But in my head, I was like, yeah, this is kind of the vibe we want to go for. And like for me, like vibe and feeling kind of overrides like logic and things, especially with like the book is like so kind of like tonally based. I thought it'd be fine to just ignore like specific things.
Yeah, I don't even care why it's there. I just love the feeling of getting like, oh, this is weird. Oh, this is kind of like
Yeah.
isolated. I just kind of like art like this in general. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I think putting
Yeah.
in that like your thoughts behind it and stuff really brings it. But as a
Yeah.
piece, as a standalone piece, it's like enough for me that I don't even like.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
like I tried to split most of my art in the book into like either isolated or like packed, because in my mind they were like the two modes that like this universe had operated on. Like either things were like incredibly barren and you're alone in like emptiness, or you're like squashed in and like squeezed into like some garbage place. And so those were kind of like the two vibes. And this gas station, like originally the background was like a forest or trees. And in my head, I was like, well, this is a universe with no like nice trees and forests and greenery. Like I took those away and replaced it with just like barren like sky and more floor to like just sell the idea that like just even more kind of isolation and kind of loneliness.
I love it. Yeah, I think this one's really good. Um, Basically everything I would want to know about this, I think you kind of said. So, it's a super
Sweet.
good piece. Like, what made you? I guess what made you pick gas pump versus like anything else?
Yeah, well, this was the one where when I originally started the project, Sam and Zach had like they would throw ideas, but like they'd be like, do something with a gas pump, or do something with a diner, or like do something with like this or that. That was kind of the extent of like direction I got from them. So like when I like was looking through like gathering photographs and resources, and I remember that Sam was like throwing a gas station. Like I came across this photo, like I really liked the orange against the blue. Although
Yeah.
originally the photograph did have like green background, but like I like the idea of orange and blue, so like I swapped those out and then put like a gas station. I think if I did it now, I'd probably make the gas pump look a bit more like old. This one kind of looks fairly modern, which is like a little different to the rest of the aesthetic, but I think it's okay. It still works enough. Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you say that because like when I look at that, I'm like, I don't know. It seems like an older kind of like gas station to me,
Yeah. Okay, well
and
that's the
maybe
vibe.
that's just because of the gaudy colors. But
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I really wanted to like make
When
sure
I
everything. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say it looks modern, but the fact that it's like abandoned and in a location that doesn't make any sense for me juxtaposes enough of like, oh, it's modern, quote unquote, but it's like the way like Star Wars is in the
mm-hmm.
past
Yeah.
or whatever, like this is in the future, but it's like still in the past because now we've left the planet. It's like maybe a relic,
Yeah.
of like
Mm-hmm.
life that used to
Yeah.
be
And
using gas pumps and stuff.
one thing about this is like on the side of the pump, there's like well, there's like kind of like an orange, kind of looks like a not a hologram, but like some kind of interface thing. I don't know if you guys see that.
Yeah.
Um, they were originally like all over the book for like several months. They're like all over every pieces. Before I was like holographic screens and interfaces are like too modern. So like I went back and like took all those out. I left this ring, so I think the orange works fine here. But like yeah, originally the book was like covered with like holograms and neon and kind of like stuff like that. And I was like, that doesn't work. After I worked kind of like 6 months, I was like, it doesn't need neon or like things like that. It needs to be like washed out and pasteling and kind of things like that. Because
I
there's some
think
pieces
that's a
that were like super bright and crazy neon.
I think taking that out was a good call, because if you had left all that in, I feel like it would feel a lot more like cyberpunk, like
Yeah, exactly.
2077 or
Yeah,
whatever.
Blade Runnery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was what I was like trying to avoid after like because when I originally started the project, like I wasn't given like a ton of direction on what I should or shouldn't do. Like I just made a lot of stuff, and then like after 6 months, I came back and I was like, these are like way too generic and like I don't know the neon stuff. There's a lot of stuff that had like Japanese like signs, like having Blade Runner and stuff, and I was like, this is too like it's too generic and kind of boring, as well as like just doesn't fit the aesthetic of the book, which is like kind of tired and sad and kind of things like that.
Yeah.
The cool thing I think about this is like the only thing I can think that's kind of similar to this genre, to my knowledge, is like Borderlands. And it feels like you're keeping some of like the ridiculousness of the corporation in and like the space cowboy stuff, but it feels like its own thing. It doesn't feel like when I look at it like, oh, this is Borderlands, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
Yeah, Borderlands
I
feels
think you
kind
went
of
the
like
right direction.
Yeah, it's like Borderlands is like space Mad Max, whereas this is like I don't know, like space Grease maybe.
yeah, that was like a
Yeah.
great Batman or like anything from like that time. Space
Right.
Queen is good. Yeah, and we'll get to some of the pieces where like I can show you like, oh, this thing is directly influenced by like this thing. Like I made this thing look like that because of these. Um,
Sweet.
yeah, this is like another kind of fairly early one. This is
This is
like
one of my
literally,
favorite pieces, hands down.
oh, cool, yeah. It was like a space launch that I found. I think it was actually like a SpaceX rocket. Boo. But it was like a free to use. I'm like, I don't mind using it. And like the original spaceship was like very slick. And after like several months, I like added a bunch of like panels and things to it, so it didn't look quite so like modern.
Yeah. I would want to talk about like color palette wise, like what made you want to paint it this way? Like what did you want to do in this scene, I guess?
Yeah, so kind of like a lot of the Orbital Blues stuff, I was like, um, things shouldn't be like it just kind of said, things shouldn't be kind of like neon and bright. Things should be kind of like paler and more washed out. And for
Mm,
this, I saw like the original image is like kind of a landscape. It's literally just like the rocket like that, and like I'll show you in the original book. I'll show you in the book the original photo. Like I expanded it and stuff to like give it more of an isolation stuff. But my kind of idea on seeing this, I don't know if you can like a lot of people miss this, so maybe it wasn't like done so well. Like maybe about halfway down the page, like halfway in the middle of the page, is like three figures,
Hmm.
like just next to the light. I don't know if you guys see those.
I do, yeah,
Again,
yeah.
another case of like I put this into like show scale, but in my mind it was like I was thinking this is like a corporate rocket launch, and these three people are here to like sabotage it. And that was like my thought was like these guys are gonna like take down this rocket, whether it's for like revolutionary reasons or maybe they're just like stealing scrap or kind of like just trying to salvage it. But in my mind, I was like, this is going to be like a sabotage, which is what I'm trying to get across. I don't think it really works. It doesn't really matter, but I think that was kind of like my thinking when putting it together. I wanted to have like a 2D kind of feel where if you see these three figures, you're like not sure why they're there. Are they like part of the Rocky team? Should they be there? Like how have they got here? So that was kind of like my vibe, like my idea when creating it.
I feel like the fact that they're so easy to miss kind of helps lend itself. It kind of lends itself to the whole like oh, like what are they there for kind of thing.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they
the
don't,
color.
what they definitely don't look like is official. They don't look like
Yeah,
they're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
yeah,
I love that, like the story with it and the coloring to me. Yeah, it's like I love that. Yeah, it fits the orbital, like the pastels, the not neon, but it's also like, kind of sunsetty. So there's some like finality to this. It kind of brings back the feeling of like when you'd like watch people launch rockets, and so it's kind of like
yeah,
this is a big grandiose thing, but what, like, in what direction? Like, are they,
yeah,
are they gonna get sabotaged? Are they gonna get off the planet? Like, this is
yeah.
cool.
Like,
I love this piece.
Yeah,
and in
and
fact,
kind of on top of that, like there are two things that I'm really thinking about with this. First is the color contrast between like the ground and the sky. Like the sky has, the colors in it, whereas the ground
yeah,
is all like dark. which I kind of feel like emphasizes the whole like maybe this world is like sort of apocalyptic or like post-apocalyptic,
Okay.
whereas
Yeah.
like the prospect of getting into space maybe provides some semblance of like hope for the future. Um,
Yeah.
and then the other thing I really like is just the fact that it's so like pulled back away from the rockets. I feel like a lot of the images that I've seen of like rocket launches have been very focused on the rockets. Like you don't
Yeah.
really, you like see the vessel and not a lot else. I feel like the fact that there is so much like empty space up above in this one really helps with the like, I don't know, it gives me a sense of like that is the goal. Like that is what they're aiming for, is like to
Yeah.
get off of the planet,
Yeah.
you know?
That's exactly it. That's like a thing kind of ran into the book is that like people are sort of searching for freedom and searching for like independence and stuff. Like I said, when this original photograph, it's like literally like it puts off like right above like the launch thing or whatever. And like my first decision was like I want to like widen everything up, more like
Yeah.
space below, like literally and also like I wanted to pull away and be like sure that like this isn't like some like crazy epic like super cool launch. This is kind of
Mhm.
like just I don't know, like less kind of momentous or kind of sad almost, that like this isn't like a big deal or anything. It's like literally just like people are going away and these people like kind of want to get on there. And that's kind of the vibe I was going for. Well, a lot of the books, a lot of the vibe I'm trying to go for is like sad. Kind of like
Yeah.
literally not like crazy exciting.
Yeah. No, and I feel like that really works. It almost reminds me of like, yeah, when you like have a friend visiting or like family members visiting, and like it's time for them to leave, and they like get on the plane or like get on like the ferry to go back to like Seattle or whatever, and or like or like driving away, and then you just kind of they just slowly disappear into the
Yeah.
distance. That's kind of the vibe I get.
Yeah, I like that kind of like melancholic vibe. Like it may not be like sad, but it's like a certain like it's not super happy. Like it's not exciting,
Mhm.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, the distance to me really gives it that feeling too. I like that
yeah,
when Kyle pointed that out. Yeah, it feels like I'm watching something kind of like
yeah. Like
from a far
when
distance. It feels quiet, like you said. Like yeah, not a huge spectacle like in front of me,
yeah,
where
like
it's like
when
something's
I
happening.
originally made this, like there was no people there, and there was like a fence on the bottom. And when I like revisited it like 6 months later, I was like, well, first of all, get rid of this weird, ugly fence. Like I like the idea of it just being empty. And then second of all, like put people in to like just feel like more story. I just feel like there's more going on, which is kind of what I like to do with most of them. So I'll do this one. So this is like this one's like sunset ship, and this was like this is my favorite one that I've made, and like far and away, like nothing beats it. Like this is kind of like my favorite one.
Yeah,
But
it's
like for this,
gorgeous.
we just set off, it's just like a photograph of like this sunset in the clouds, and like I then moved to like think, well, also like it's partly motivated out of a need of like we need more spaceships there. Like I put one in, and then I was like, well, let's put it in trouble, and then like if the spaceship's in trouble, I kind of like naturally thought, well, let's turn it and to like make it kind of feel more dramatic or like something's happening. Not quite sure what, but like this person's clearly not having like a good time.
Yeah, I feel like this really plays well with that other one because it's like, oh yeah, you're finally off the planet, and then nope, you're
Like,
coming crashing back down.
yeah, this was actually like when I came to like this was like one of the first ships that I designed for it. So like I still wasn't sure what ships would look like in the universe yet. So I like made this and then like I sort of retconned it. So this is like an in atmosphere ship. This is like a kind of flyer or some kind of like air speeder. Like it's used for like getting around the planet but not off the planet. And then
Mhm.
maybe this person's like aboard the ship, maybe they've like pushed it too high, or they've tried to like leave the atmosphere and it's just like not kind of worked for it. So like I wanted to, if it was like an in atmosphere ship, I wanted it to look like fairly kind of fragile. So like I didn't want it to like be crazy bulky, like maybe that one on the Arena 12 one. So for this, I looked to like Star Wars ships. Like I don't know if you know, like the Imperial shuttle has like the three
Mhm.
wing, and like one of the shuttles on Rogue One is like again a three wing thing. Instead of having like the wing up, I just like flipped it so like the wing's down,
Yeah.
uh, and like I based the body on like a if you like cut off this bottom fin would kind of look like an aircraft, which is kind of what I based it on. But I did like an aircraft with like some like just bits and bobs kind of stuck on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So
other one
was
where
this one that you drew yourself then? Like this wasn't like a model that you took?
no, this one's like I drew myself. I have like the original sketches I'm thinking of including on this page. Yeah, like
Nice.
I built up like the spaceship from like kind of fairly scratch. Yeah, and this is another one where I wanted to like feel like we're like peeking into the middle of someone's story, or like we're just getting a glimpse of like a story in place, but not really knowing like what's happening or why or kind of anything like that.
Yeah, I love it. I love everything about it. You answered my only question, which was like, what is the ship? You know, when I see it, I don't have any questions. I'm like, oh, this is a cool sci-fi world. Some cool shit's
Yeah,
happening. It looks gorgeous. I just want to look at it, you know? But then when I think
yeah,
like the only question comes to mind is like, well, what's that ship for? Like, why does it look like that,
yeah.
you know? And I
I guess
love that
I
it's like it's
was
sleek, it's fast. There's like an explanation why it's all messed up. Like, oh, it's
I was
gorgeous.
as I was like working on it, like my head canon was that these are like kids doing like hot rod racing. They like take up these flyers in the atmosphere and kind of like push them to their limits for like a kind of racing because there's like nothing else happening on the planet. And so this is like some kid who's like doing some kind of like, and that was kind of like bringing it back to like 60s style like drag racing and kind of stuff like that. But like, what if they kids
Yeah.
just did that like fun when they don't have anything else going on?
Yeah, it gives me some like speed racery almost like kind of
Yeah,
vibes.
yeah.
Like,
Um, that one's just a fall. Let
dude,
me
that
grab
that
this
was
one.
that was super gorgeous.
Feel like I'm going too long on each piece. I have like my timer here. I can see like we've been speaking like a little while, so I don't want to like maybe I'll like breeze through some. If there's like something that I like not interesting, we'll just kind of breeze through them. So I have to like talk about every single one. And this is like a late one that I did. And literally I saw the image and I was like, oh, this feels like again we're getting a glimpse of like a story in progress. Like these explosions on the sand, I was like, they could be like landmines, or they could be like somebody shooting from kind of like further up. I originally laser bolts in here, like it didn't make sense. And yeah, I haven't included lasers anywhere else in the book, so like stayed away from lasers. Kind of wanting to focus on more practical things. But yeah, this was like just I wanted to get like this person's chasing, or they're like being chased. I just wanted to feel like we're in the middle. And this came out of a need of like they were like do more action stuff, like not just like sad melancholy stuff. So I was like, fine. So we included kind of some more kind of in action kind of things.
Can I tell you the instant story that comes to my head when I look at this, which
Yeah,
you can use for anything or not at all? Like the technology in this image looks a lot shinier and newer than a lot of the things we
yeah,
are seeing. So it makes me think they have ties to money. And it makes me think like, oh, they're going after like rebels or something. So it's like the law and like maybe they've set up like links on the
yeah,
inside. And this person's like trying to deal with
yeah.
it. And so it's like
Yeah, I like that. That could work because like this, the original photo this had it did include
they're a
that it did.
cop and they're getting destroyed.
Yeah, like the photo originally had this kind of like car, but I like added the windscreen, added the aerial, added like the front grille, added some lights, and took some like signage off and stuff, just to, like make it look sort of real, like sort of resemble something we have now, but also feel like not quite what we have now, like just kind of different in some way. And that's
Yeah.
kind of like what I'm going forward this.
Can I just
Yeah.
say I love the inclusion of the two moons in the sky? It's such a
Yeah,
subtle detail.
yeah, I
It's
do that
really
like
A lot.
nice.
stuff. Yeah, I do that in a lot of stuff. When like my general feeling is like this doesn't feel like sci-fi enough. Like, well, put like two moons there. And if you look through the pieces, like it feels like the Orbital Blues universe has like a lot of planets have two moons because almost everything that has like an exterior has like a second moon. But yeah, it's just like a cool way of being like it feels real, but also feels like different or feels like not real. And so kind of like doing those to kind of throw people off.
Yeah.
I
I
like
love that
this
they're
one a
two
lot.
different
I like this
sizes
one.
too. It like
Yeah,
just the idea that like one is like super close and then one's like further back. That's really cool.
yeah, yeah. Again, it's another thing where I'm like, don't think about the science because if I thought about it, I'd be like, that moon's way too close. Or like, that shouldn't work.
It's just slowly coming towards the planet, like, ooh, I'm gonna hit you eventually.
On it soon. So this is like another early one I made. And it was literally like I found a block of like I found a tower block, and I was like, what if I just extended it and extended it? And And what if like this universe was just like our universe, but like they made like tower blocks like crazy high. And again, this is like you can kind of see like on the like red stripe on the building. This is kind of a leftover from when we were like heavy Neo. But I think it sort of works enough in like the current incarnation of Orbital Blues. I don't even know if this one's going to be in the main book. I don't think this is like anyone's favorite, so I'm not even sure if they're including it in the main book.
Bro, this looks beautiful. I just love this image. Like I would just
Yeah.
print this image and have it on my walls like a sci-fi image. Cool. But obviously, I would want to know like what is going on in this building. You know, like this thing's crazy looking, but
Yeah.
it's gorgeous.
To play, I was sort of thinking like it could just be like apartment buildings, but also thinking that it kind of looks a little bit more modern because like maybe this is like some kind of science office or some kind of like corporation headquarters, and maybe like the red stripe is like part of their logo, something like that. Yeah, I just going to get the feeling that like this is like our universe, but weird or like different slightly, which is like maybe I should have made the tower blocks even higher. But like, they kind of disappear into the clouds, which itself disappears
Yeah,
into
that's
the
what I
sky.
like about it.
Like, quite makes sense. It sort of feels real, which is like enough.
Yeah, I love this piece. This is a good piece. And yeah, what can you explain
Um,
except for I want it to go into the sky. I wanted a building to be so big it goes into the like sky. I'm like, there you go, that's it.
Yeah, this was like a very simple one. This was like one of the earliest one I made, which is where it was like it came out of the need where people were like saying Orbital Blues is like saturated with advertising. So I was like, okay, let's do like a roadside billboard, like you kind of see, but let's kind of like update it and kind of make it a little bit more modern and kind of weird.
Yeah.
Certainly weird. Just because, like, from this advertisement, it's like, what is this? And, like, obviously in a universe, you would have a better idea of, like, what, like, this company does. But just, like, looking at it, it's like, what do they do?
Yeah, I like
I
kind
love
of
it,
like that mood of being like, what is this? Like, it gets people like the attention of like, well, this is obviously an advertisement for something, but like, what is it? And the image is actually based on like album cover I made like 2 or 3 years ago. Like that like face is like an album cover, so I literally kind of duplicated that, then put like the text in the middle. And Eden Corp, which in my mind was like a terraforming company, like an atmospheric processing planet. Like they go to planets and like make atmospheres and kind of terraform them.
Mhm.
But it doesn't really make sense without the advertisement. But I was like kind of okay with it being kind of like weird and vague.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
love
was
it.
thinking about that, like, too, like, just the imagery of, like, the circle with, like, the line through it and, like, the two dudes splitting off. Like, my mind went to, like, they're, like, a cloning company, you know?
Me
Like,
too.
cool.
Which is perfect. Yeah, like I thought the same thing. The over the eyes and stuff too. I was like, whoa, this is like some genetic thing. This is cool. I liked it.
Yeah. Like this is one of the things in Orbital Blues was like we don't ever say what year it is. Like in the text or in my art, I try to avoid saying like this is the year this is taking place. We kind of like it to be more kind of like
So
very
smart.
direct, and like we don't have like specific like there's like no specific maps of the galaxy. It's all kind of like more interested in like vibe and feeling than like specific hardcore like things, which is kind of what I do with this, where I was like, let's keep it vague enough that it's like interesting, but like not so specific that like you know exactly what the company does. It's cool that you guys are like cloning. Like now you said it, I can like totally see it. The logo is supposed to kind of like or like a planet with a horizon, but like yeah, the idea is like splitting something up.
It works
really
in every
appreciate-
direction, which yeah, it makes it even crazier.
Yeah. And I really appreciate the fact that you guys leaned away from, like, hard dates and all
Yeah,
that sort of thing,
yeah,
because I feel like that's
yeah.
so much more limiting when you're, like, playing a game like this.
Rules in the book are that like there are no aliens and there's no like robots or androids or anything like that. But like if you're playing the game, you can include them if you want. We haven't made provisions for them in the main book. Everything else is kind of vague enough that like it could fit in anywhere. And this piece, like I don't know if this appears in the final book either. I don't know if they end up using it. But I was just like this is like kind of hard to see, but it's like just like a busy kind of foggy street. And again, this was just kind of like I was just trying to like get the mood, and the mood was like I wasn't sure what the mood is, but like kind of like melancholic as well. Like you're literally just kind of watching the world kind of pass by, and like the world outside is like kind of big and messy, and you can't quite like get a handle on it. This piece was originally like super blue, It was like a remnant of like the neon era, where I like calmed it down and made it like much more kind of like chill and a little bit more pastel.
This makes me think of like Las Vegas or like Hong Kong, you know, where like it's just so industrialized that like
Yeah.
you know, it's like just covered in smog, but like to the extreme.
And that was kind of like I wanted to contrast this with um like that planet with like the card grab, the sand. That's like so open and bright and clear. Whereas like cities are kind of like packed and kind of gross and it's kind of like murky and it's not like just not a great vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I was gonna say about this is like my first not ultra positive comment. I really love the people and the color and the blend. And like if I'm looking at the image from right there, I like when I look around the image, I'm like, oh, that looks really nice. But like where my eyes hit right away, it's like at the almost the blown out like highlights like right over the city. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, what's going on? And then
Yeah.
it's just kind of hard for me to make out what the city is. But then it's like I really love the people. Like I love how all the people look and stuff. But
Yeah. Like I experimented with like putting like in the big blank bit in the middle, like I had like billboards and advertisements and stuff. Like it's gonna be like a
mm,
big time, but it didn't quite work out. Again, it's one that I'm probably going to talk about because I'm like not super happy with it. It's better than the original blue version, but again, it's just kind of like one that's like a little kind of vague and kind of meh. I don't think it like has as much storytelling or as much kind of like inbuilt stuff going on as some of the others. I do like the idea of having some stuff that was like a city, which we don't have a lot of. And Model Blues mainly takes place in like backplate or like just small town and kind of stuff like that. But once like glimpse and like what living in a city was like, and like I think it did a little more better with like this next one, which is
that was
like the idea
crazy.
of
Yeah.
like a city living and like it's kind of tying back to the idea of like people always advertising stuff. This is like an advertisement to like visit another planet. But obviously once you get to the other planet, it's probably not going to be as good as like they kind of are broadcasting here. And that was kind of like based on like advertisements that Blade Runner universe, where they're always like visiting off-world colony is great. And like they're all terrible when you go there. That's kind of what I wanted to get at here.
Gorgeous. Okay, that is so cool. Yeah, and I love that it's like on top of like the super grim, like black
Yeah,
city is this beautiful, shining, like futuristic advert. The one thing I was gonna say about the fog too is the thing I loved about it though is it like the person who seems the most in focus, they look like they're wearing like monks clothing or like kind of robes or like I don't know.
yeah.
And
It's
just for
like
me, that tiny detail gave like so much more to like, whoa, this is like a different kind of place. There's a lot of people out here, you know.
the original photo had like it was a guy in like monk clothes, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I love that part.
a better idea of like people in a city. And again, this was like this original photo was like super neon, like it was full like purple and stuff and pink. So like I took the colors from like a faded thing and just kind of like brought everything down to like this grim and kind of faded, almost kind of monochrome. Then like put this kind of like bright advertisement on there.
You pull the colors back really. I think the palette on it is like gorgeous, and the blending between
Yeah,
all the colors
really
is
like
super good.
there's a couple of pieces in the book, maybe just one other, in fact, where like they're almost grayscale or they're black and white. And most of the time, you
Mm,
like have like pastel colors, but I thought it would like fit here to have it like be super desaturated.
I like it.
And then yeah, this is just like a weird one as well. It's like literally somebody on like a big fog tower. You don't know what I'm doing
Oh
here.
no.
The other ones are like foggy, where I'm like, if I don't know what I'm doing, just like cover it up with some fog. But this could be like some kind of weird industrial world, and this is kind of like one person there on the right hand side. In my mind, this was like some weird rebel or revolutionary thing, and maybe they've like infiltrated this, or maybe she's like laying down a marker for like somebody else coming later. I'm not quite sure, but it was just like, yeah, I just wanted to like do something that felt like, I don't know if this piece is included in the main book either. It's nice, but I don't think it's like exciting or interesting really.
I will say this gives me so much anxiety.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
like,
Yeah,
if you like look further down, you see like the birds. She's obviously like very high. She's like higher than the birds, and she's like just standing there on the edge. Yeah,
yeah, it
that's what I
makes
love
me
about it.
it makes me think of like the like depression era photos of like the people just sitting on like the rebar like just over
Yeah,
nothing. God,
Yep,
but
just
like
so
having
he's
lunch
like,
up there.
you
yeah,
look a little closer to her. She's like holding like a gun or like something over her shoulder. Or there's like something there. But yeah, it's still no excuse to be so close to the edge. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know if that was included in the main book. I like it, but I don't think it's like as interesting or as exciting as most.
hmm
if you think you have
Um,
better pieces, but I like this one a lot actually. I just like that you can't see the ground, you can't see up, and that the fog really does make it feel like it's super high in the air. Like my palm starts sweating a little bit, so it does that well.
all the like exterior stuff. And then the next kind of section is like interior stuff. This is like inside buildings or space stations and kind of things like that. This is like everything at space station, and this is like kind of like the opposite of the like isolated or expansive stuff. This is like people are kind of packed in to like somewhere that's like also this looks kind of like a fairly nice-ish space station. And it's kind of like projected signs and stuff, and it doesn't look dirty. So this is probably one of the more corporate kind of areas of space.
Yeah, I like it. I think it captures that side of it, the corporate side of it, you know? Just gives like
Yeah.
a good view to the world.
And the next interior thing I kind of did was just a form. That's not interesting. The next thing I did was the cockpit. So like, yeah, I was like, this came out of a need to like, I wanted to do more like overtly sci-fi stuff or stuff that like felt like kind of futuristic. So like I found a photograph of like a flight simulation, like it's something like in a flight simulator, and like I replaced the background obviously with space, a planet and a moon, and then like I just put a bunch of stuff in it because my intention was like this is like a trucker's cabin. It's like it should be like just full of stuff. So there's a coffee cup, and like I replaced the simulation screen with like a screen of my own making. Like he's got a radio on, and there's like Polaroids, like of a person. Maybe he's like somebody they know, or like a planet. Maybe it's somebody they like somewhere they're from. Like, and then I added like an air freshener on top. Um,
Yeah.
Generally, like I want it to feel like lived in and like feel like it has a personality of sorts. And I think those
Yeah.
Polaroids helped. I went in and like wrote text on them. I think I don't know what they are now. I'd have to like go back and see them, but like I made sure that like they have real text. That, like so it could be something like somebody's written on the Polaroid to like give it to like their lover or something.
Yeah. I love that detail. I love, yeah, I just love, I feel like all of this captures a lot of the different like moods and themes in one shot.
Yeah.
And just knowing,
Yeah.
yeah, like you were saying, like knowing about this is like a Polaroid for this person, or even like being able to like show what they say or whatever, or the little story you had with it, I
Yeah.
think would be so cool to know about.
Yeah. Yeah. This next one's like just somebody's bedroom. This is originally like a very different piece. I don't think I have. I don't have the original one here, but it was like a bedroom, but it had like it just was a bad piece. So I replaced it with this, which kind of again feels like we're in the middle of somebody's story. Like they've literally just got out of bed, or like they've not made the bed. Like maybe they're going to head to bed. Well, it feels like it's the morning, so they probably just got up. And then obviously they've got like a nameplate above the bed, so maybe this is like an assigned bunk somewhere. Like, what does that mean? Are they like an employee somewhere? Are they like some kind of military thing? I don't know. And then like I just slapped a band poster on the wall to like give it some kind of personality. Like this is like their only space they have, so they're gonna put like their band posters up.
Okay, so this is supposed to, and you have the band photo too, right?
Yeah, we'll see them later on in the band section we have. But yeah, it's just I just wanted to feel like again, this is like more of a mood piece. Like it feels kind of feels a little nice, but also feels a little like sad. I don't know. I feel that's the vibe I'm trying to go for, which is like nice but also sad.
I thought it was like a prison environment.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, that
oh,
could be it.
what's going on
I
here?
I definitely, well, it's interesting because I definitely get the prison vibes from this, except for the poster
Yeah,
and the little dresser there. It's like, it's interesting because like it has those vibes, but like to me it seems more like this is where this person lives, but like it feels like a prison to them.
yeah, yeah. I like that. Like maybe this is like an old prison that's now like people just live there now. But I also like the idea that
Yeah.
like this is the only personality they're allowed. Like this person's expected with like a band poster.
No, I
Yeah.
think it's cool. I think it captures the moody sort of vibe a lot.
Yeah. This is a diner because they wanted diners, and diners feel very like of this universe. It's like I found a picture of like a Five Guys in Barcelona. Took out all the Five Guys like ID stuff and like replaced it with like these windows into like space, and like added a couple of things like it says credits only on the sign, and like I just picked a name. Jackson's. It's named after Jackson, who's like a Star Wars character. And it's like I took one X out and then just used that as like the name of this kind of like burger restaurant. And again, this is kind of like just I wanted to capture the feeling of like I don't know, like just a quiet moment, or like a pit stop, like quiet moment, or like a like stop somewhere along the road. I really it would have been nice. I should have included someone here. That'd be nice, like somebody sat. But I like the idea maybe that's like just left or they just about to arrive up. I don't know. It's kind of like the idea that it's kind of lonely.
I love that it looks like 100% just like exactly like I would want a diner to be drawn in this style. It's just really pretty to
Yeah.
look at, and then it's like the most subtle detail of like, oh, that's space outside. Like I think that that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. Because originally there was nothing there. I just like had blank walls and I was like, doesn't really like feel like something's missing. So I was like, well, what if this was like in the bowels of the space station they kind of looked out? What if this was like on an arm of like some big ship and this is like where you look out on?
And there's like a whole lore to this Jackson's now, right?
Yeah, like I made a bunch. Jackson's is like now like the burger chain, like the fast food chain for the universe. And there's a lot of like famous original Rays, like the pizza place. Like, there's a lot of like people like claim to be like the original Jackson's, like this is the real Jackson's burger chain. And so I made a bunch of like fake logos, which I'll also include like in this page on the book.
Those, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, cool. Well, this is the diner, and then we have this is just like a hallway, and it says caution airlock control area. I just wanted to like feel like this is more of
This one
a.
ruins my brain all the time at it because it actually is upside down.
It is upside down, yeah. It's a photograph of a. The original photograph was the other way around, but I was like, what if it was just upside down and had like these like white things on the floor, these white circles are lights in the like regular piece. In my piece, I was like, what are they? And you can't really tell it's upside down until like if you look in the like well maybe I shouldn't give this away, but looking like the top right corner where like there's a staircase. If you like zoomed in, you would see the stairs would go like Escher style, like the wrong way. But yeah, this was like this could be a more utilitarian like area of the space station or a ship. This is like some kind of like people aren't really supposed to be down here. And originally I had like a different airlock sign, but I kind of settled on this one. I don't know like why, but I just kind of like I don't know what like airlock control area would mean or like why there would be caution. I guess it would be like literally done like press buttons and not on the airlock. But I thought I'd like I don't know. I kind of like the idea of something on the floor like signage.
This is
Yeah, I
so
like the let
bizarre.
up pods. It makes me just want to know more for sure. And like leaving it like vague or just like the mood setting of just like here's some weird sci-fi shit on the floor. I like that a lot
You know what
because
really
it's
throws me
subtle. It's
off?
not really in your face. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what really throws me off with this is that like control panel over on the left.
Yeah,
It like I don't know. It reminds me of like at an airport they have like the list of like itineraries or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
and it makes me feel like maybe like all of these are like I don't know, like
this was
uh
like
proceed to airlock 2 to get onto the to ship B or whatever.
pretty close because this was originally like the photograph of like a train station, like top of a train station in like Germany, I think. Like on if this was flipped the right way around, that board would have like train information on. Because like I'll show the original piece. It's like really interesting. Because it was like literally just like flipped upside down. Because I kind of liked the weird flooring stuff. So like the floor is the ceiling here and kind of stuff like that. Yeah, no, yeah, the kind of vibe I was going for. Like this is like an area maybe you shouldn't be, or this is like more of a kind of behind the scenes area that most people don't kind of get to.
Yeah, it's weird. It's creepy.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of is that the last one of this section? Yeah, kind of the idea that it's a little more yeah, that's all the interior stuff. Yeah, it's a little more creepy, or it's a little kind of like, oh, maybe we should be here. After
I
exterior,
like
we
all the
have
interiors though. It feels like a good like
cool.
range of the like the feelings that are in the universe.
These are all like just space stuff. Again, you see my thing of if you don't know what to do, put a moon there. I like put a moon near this other planet, and this is like a convoy. I think I thought of it's like kind of like a trucking convoy, and like a bunch of trucks. But instead of like they're just like space trucks that I made. This was kind of one of the one of like the first big like industrial style ships that I made. I wanted to look kind of like boxy and not like nothing should look cool. They should look like a kind of truck in space, which is kind of what I was going for with it.
Yeah, it feels like how we actually build shit, which is like to accomplish the task, and it really matches that one mining piece that you did. I really like it.
Yeah,
Feels really
yeah,
cohesive.
yeah. I really wanted it to be like these are just like three people on like just like I also like I guess you can again this is like a hard one to tell the scale, but in my mind these weren't like gigantic. These were like kind of like the size of like maybe like bigger than a truck, like a big kind of um like a big lorry or like a 16 wheeler or whatever, but like just in space.
Yeah. I was gonna say I get heavy trucker vibes. I'm like they're just transporting shit, right? That's what it looks like they are. They remind me of like lorries, or they also remind me of like the like a shipping sort
Yeah,
of.
yeah. Like this is made out of a bunch of different stuff, but I think some of it has like shipping container vibes definitely going for it. And that one's a farm. This is again two planets. Again, this one doesn't make sense because why would there's no universe where these three planets are like that close to each other, and it's like not a problem. This is like a three stamp planet. Originally, this was like a different piece, and it had like instead of having the two planets above, it had like two ships coming into land. I took those out because um, they like Sam and Zach said they were too like the ships I made were too slick and too futuristic. They were like very kind of pointy ones, like the kind of sunset ship. That was it. That was in trouble, and they didn't want them. So like I just took them out and replaced it instead with like two planets. But again, this is just kind of get the feel of like these planets are like dusty and kind of abandoned, or like there's just not a lot of stuff going on. These kind of dust worlds.
What's the white line through the middle all about?
That's supposed to be. Yeah, I didn't do it very well, which is why it doesn't look great. But it's supposed to be like the planet, then atmosphere, then space. So like the white
Okay.
is supposed to be kind of like like the Earth has a kind of a glow around it, where it's like
Hmm.
before there's a planet and then there's space, and in between that there's like a strip of atmosphere. I think I made it to like a uniform strip. It should have been like softer, I think. I
See,
think maybe too like
I never think miss. Sorry, go on.
no, no, go for it.
I was gonna say I never when I look at these think anything's a mistake. I always think it's a choice because these are
Good.
like the sent out ones. So I'm like in your
Yeah,
head, like I'm like, oh, was it supposed to be extra bright? Like you wanted it to like part like what part of the
yeah,
story is, or even just like mood wise, you're like I just liked how it looked for these reasons or whatever. Like I'm
yeah.
always just
It
curious.
used to be like just a way of making it look like not our world. Like it looks different enough that it feels like it could be kind of an alien world.
Yeah, because it looks like an ultra bright horizon to me. So I'm like, is there something happening on the other side of this planet that's making it like this
Yeah,
bright, or
that's cool.
like
Yeah, if you hadn't told me it was kind of a mistake, my thought was just like, oh, like the sun is like reflecting very brightly off of that section.
In future, I'm gonna not say it's a mistake until you guys like come up with an explanation. Then I'll like piggyback on that one. Uh,
yeah.
this one was like literally they just wanted like a motel sign in space. Like I just got a motel thing like I made this motel sign and then like slapped it onto like a NASA satellite again to be the feeling of like just have like stuff slapped on it, and that's like how the universe works.
Oh, that's really funny to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think the
Maybe
I
original
love it.
photo, like, again, it's another one where if you look closer, there's like three small moons next to the regular planet. But if you
Yeah, I saw that one.
like where's and that's Earth, and this is like maybe it's the Hubble Space Telescope, but I was like, what if it had a bunch of garbage on it? Like I stuck a bunch of stuff in it and kind of painted over it and gave it kind of like to feel like more of a kind of worn out NASA kind of feel, which is like the aesthetic of space stations at the moment.
That makes me feel like in the future it's like The novelty of the NASA satellites has like sort of worn off. So like this corporation bought a NASA satellite and they're like, look, it's a motel now. You can stay in this satellite. And it's like this wonderful experience. And then just like over time, it's just become like, cool. Yeah. You want to stay at the NASA satellite hotel, I guess? Sure.
Yeah, I tried not to have anything that was like nothing should look cool or slick or like futuristic. So like this Ulysses station. Like I think I based this I would have based this motel, I can't remember now, but I would have based it off like a motel sign that I saw, kind of just the
Mhm.
layout of it. I think I wrote like full services, yeah, Ulysses Station, vacant stand, and stuff like that.
I like it. I think it hits the mark.
Yeah, this one's like I don't know what's happening here. The red, like so again, these like pointy ships, these are the ones that Sam and Zach were like, no, they're too futuristic. But they're too like they should look more boxy and kind of truck like. So like I like the space guys. I think these like pointy guys are like maybe like corporate ships, like corporate shuttles or like they're like military shuttles or something. They're kind of more legit. But again, it's like just I found a image of this planet and I was like, let's do an asteroid field. Like those are cool. Like they feel there's a lot of stuff going on in there. In fact, these are the same asteroids I later reused on that like first piece I showed you, which is like the planet with the asteroids behind it. I was like, I'm not making new asteroids. But again, this red thing, like I don't know what that is. In my mind, I was like, maybe that red stuff is like maybe we're looking at this scene like through a screen, and that red stuff is like on the screen, and maybe like some kind of targeting thing. Because it doesn't really work as like part of it doesn't make like these things don't go in space like these weird red like things. I just like I saw them and was like I like that. And I like want to put it on and like make it just feel kind of not like our stuff. I don't know.
Well, instantly to me, it just looks like a reticle. Like I'm just like, oh, this is you're looking through what one of the ships is seeing. Like it's homing in on the
Yeah,
planet, or like these ships are in target, they're homing in behind them. Like, and I
yeah,
really
Yeah.
like actually the juxtaposition between like old stuff and then you do have some stuff that's like kind of round, kind of sharp, kind of bright, as like just enough contrast to the world to be like there's a disparage like there's it not it like most things are shitty, but there's some money in this world. There's some people
yeah,
with nice. It's like
yeah. Yeah, I think it would have been cool. I should have put like some text like on the screen so it would like read out from the reticle. But I kind of like it, just like a weird kind of crosshair thing.
Yeah.
yeah, seems simple. I like that. It captures
Yeah,
reticle to me. Kyle, did you get reticle off that?
I did. Yeah. I was kind of thinking the same thing that you were. Like maybe this is from the perspective of like a third ship, like one of those ships, or even
yeah,
from like the ship that sent out those little ships.
yeah, yeah. Again, this was like one where I just found a photo of a planet and then like I made these asteroids, like I painted that planet to like a different color. And once I like made a few of the asteroids, I, like kind of copied them and kind of just put them on. Looks so wanted like an asteroid field.
Yeah.
Um,
I think also in the book, just as an aside, like if you have things where you aren't like the ones you do have a super clear idea on, it's obviously super cool for you to write about and it, gives us a ton of detail. But I think it's also interesting to see the ones where you're like, I have a very vague inspiration here. And I just like
yeah,
kind of wanted something to be around this area because I think that really gives a true insight into a lot of art
yeah.
decisions. Some of my stuff were super thought out and then I'm just like, I don't know, it just kind of looked cool like that. Like that, I just
Yeah,
wanted
like
it
the
like
asteroid
that.
one was like, oh, I like the asteroid scene in Attack of the Clones. It's like, what if there was just like a lot of asteroids there? I just like the idea that like asteroids are cool and there's like a lot of stuff to hide in around them. It's like maybe that's what these ships like targeting. Maybe they're looking for pirates who are hiding in the asteroids or what. I don't know. But again, this is the final like space image, and like I just wanted like a view from like a spaceship or like another space station looking out and seeing like this kind of space factory kind of silhouetted against its planet.
I really like this one.
Yeah,
Nice.
this one's gorgeous. This one
Yeah,
definitely should be in the book, and
yeah,
like whatever you have to say about it should be said. I love, yeah, the halo and the light and everything, and I think it's really, really good. And it makes more sense with like the other one I saw too, or the other one I guess it makes.
yeah. In my mind,
Also,
it's kind of space factory or something, or like some kind of weird atmospheric foundry, like some kind of orbital foundry. I guess I don't know what it is. But if you look super close, you may see like smoke, which wouldn't what makes sense, like smoke blowing in space. But from this distance, you can see it, so it's not there.
God, yeah,
I have
I
this
don't know.
pulled up on
Like,
my.
it's such a weird shape, like that station too.
Yeah, I
And
love
like,
how like stringy it almost is, or
yeah,
like
well,
gangly. Like it's cool.
I think it's like literally a silhouette of a factory. Then like I copied it and kind of just flipped it upside down. So like I think I originally had it like vertically, but I kind of like the idea of it being just like kind of like that what's it called, an alien isolation? It's a Sebastopol station, like a big
Yeah,
big like the ship, the space station, the alien are like super weird. They're like just weird, chunky, like weird kind of pointy blocks in space. So I just
yeah,
wanted like that kind of reminded me of like kind of the alien space stations.
yeah. That's what I was thinking of. I was looking at. I was like, I don't even really know how to put it into words. But yeah, I totally get that.
And again, the vibe I was kind of going for this was like, I don't know, it's not like sad or maybe wistful or maybe like the person aboard this ship is going towards the space station and they're not happy about it. Maybe this is kind of like the first glance they're getting kind of this kind of weird factory station. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's another one of those things where it's like really like a really strange juxtaposition because like the planet is like a planet, so it's like spherical. It's like very like natural looking, and then there's just like a thing with like
Yeah,
just a nonsense shape like just hovering
yeah,
around it. It's so weird.
yeah, I like it. Yeah, and this is maybe the only one I have that has like a lens flare in it, which I think is like a shame. I should have done more lens flare stuff. Maybe like in the sequel adventures. Yeah, like lens flare stuff is kind of cool. I want to use it kind of sparingly because to me that kind of feels like Lake future, even though it's not, even though it's like a naturally occurring thing, but like making them of like Star Wars or Star Trek, like kind of something that's like flick lens flares. I kind of wanted to stay away from that, but I think it worked nice here, especially with the station being like just in silhouette.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
The one other thing I was gonna say now that we're talking about
Yeah,
that with the space view, I was gonna say I think this is like one of the best pieces for mood capture because obviously it's
yeah,
blue and it's like it's supposed to be a pretty important piece, right? Like that you made.
I think so. Like I just made it, and I was like, they can, yeah, I don't know. My just feeling was like it should be weird, and it should be like I don't know. I just like the idea of a factory in space, and then like that just doesn't feel like right. It's like it shouldn't be like a fun piece. It should be like kind of a weird kind of atmospheric piece. I don't know what kind of mood I'm trying to capture with this one. Maybe like more sad. I don't know. I guess kind of a lot of
It feels
blue.
sad. It just
Yeah,
feels yeah, kind of like moody. I don't know. So I was gonna say like this to me when I first see it, it really feels like it captures like a mood to me. I was like, wow, this
yeah,
one you feel something when you see this.
yeah. I kind of like the idea of like it's like a nice, pretty kind of natural planet, like Carl was saying, and this is like weird, ugly aberration just like hanging around in space, and that like it's
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
good
yeah.
feeling together.
The ship is awesome. I love the like super blacked out silhouette of it, and then yeah,
Yeah. The reason I did that was so I wouldn't have to do any work. Like I could like just do it. There's a couple of ones where I do them just in silhouette. 'Cause I was like, just doing silhouette like looks nice for mood, and also I don't have to like make a lot of detail on it, and you don't have to know that. So those are all like the ones that are like set in space. Then the next section is like people. So this is like art containing images of people. So this is like the first one I did. And that came from like when the original brief, Sam said like everybody smokes in this universe. Like it's a universe where people like smoking all the time. So like that's my idea of like having a guy smoking. And in my head, he was like, this is like a bounty hunter, or he's like somebody who's like staking out a target, or he's like a private detective, or just kind of like someone who's like waiting out there for something. And this piece of image had like a ton of like those sci-fi hologram graphics that like I took out because they were too futuristic and didn't like fit the aesthetic anymore.
I think that was a good call again. I feel like I'm
Yeah,
just standing out there with this guy, like he's lighting his cigarette, and I'm about to ask him to light mine.
yeah. That's kind of the vibe I wanted to go for. Is like this guy's got a story. What is it? Or, like what's he got going on? Um, this next one is like the only other like one that's like full black and white. Usually I like having color, but like I don't know, I kind of liked it. This one's kind of stark. This original piece didn't have that background. It was just like a plain wall, and I was like, let's put a bunch of like torn down posters, or kind of like torn up advertisements and stuff to like keep theme of like this is an advertisement. And again, fog on the bottom just because like I just put fog in. Even though what's the fog doing there? I just kind of like the mood that it kind of brings to it. And again, I don't know what like the mood is with this. It's a guy with a gun, but it doesn't feel like action packed in my mind. It doesn't feel like an action movie or something. It just feels kind of like almost resigned. I don't know. I don't know what like mood I'm trying to go with here.
He feels like someone important just because he feels really cleaned up. Where a lot of the
Yeah,
world's like pretty
yeah,
dirty, Like his clothes fit nice, nothing going on. So it's like
yeah,
I don't know. It feels important.
yeah. This is like just a gun, and the original piece didn't include this white document. I like made that separately. I made it like fully detailed. There's like full text on there. Like I literally I don't know why I did that. It's literally gonna get blurred out and like put in a background. But that's the manual for this gun. It has like it's like the owner's manual and it has like the company and then like the model number of the gun. Yeah, but in my mind, like if this hasn't got the manual of the gun, this is probably like their first time handling like the gun. So I'm not really sure like what mood he's trying to capture. But again, I wanted to like do some pieces with well, this came out of a need. Like Sam and Zach will like give us more guns, so like give us more action-packed pieces. And this isn't really action-packed, but I feel like it's sort of setting the mood for like leading up to like maybe some action occurring off screen.
I actually really appreciate the fact that that document is like fully put together and is also blurred out, because I feel like most things like that, like this image feels like something that you would have like at the beginning of like maybe like a character creation section or like a combat section. And I feel like usually with this type of image, like the artist who makes it would really put that document into focus to be like, look at all the background work that I did. Look, like this document is like, you can fully read it. Like, ooh, I'm just like, look at me. I'm so clever for like making this document. I put so much thought into it.
Yeah.
And like, obviously that's not the focus of this piece. The focus is on the loading of the gun. Like this feels like this person has a very maybe murderous intent. They're like they're loading the gun. They're not.
Yeah.
They don't care about the owner's manual. The owner's manual has not been touched.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I really appreciate that.
There's a few pieces I made, where like in fact there's quite a few where I made like a ton of like real text, like real background stuff, and then like it's just covered up. I don't have anyone else to blame but myself. Like I made a full piece and like covered it up with a different piece. Um, I'll show you those later. They're like insane. There's like 12 layers of like real text that nobody can see. But I kind of like the idea that I'm doing it so like feels consistent. Because this own manufacturing company is called Rostovic Arms and Safety. Like I've included some of the adverts in other parts of like the book. And so like if I put a logo somewhere, I try and make sure that I use it again somewhere else to kind of create the feeling that like the same corporations are like running everything.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a ton of work, but it really makes the universe feel like full. It feels like the details go all the way down,
Yeah. Yeah. I want it to feel like sort of authentic. Feel like if not real, but like feel real. Like because these things could like be occurring. This next piece was like they wanted like another one that was like people with guns. Like I made this one with a gun. And this is another one where like the head the head's from a different image, the body's from a different image, the eye is from a different image because the original head had like her eyes closed. Like I put an opened eye on it and then like and also the background's like so kind of weird sunset city. Not sure kind of what this is, but again, this is like in my mind, she's like somebody who's kind of not to be messed with. She's like pretty determined. I don't know what she's determined to do, but she's like determined to do something like overlooking this kind of city.
She looks like a rebel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like ragtag. I like it a lot. I like the eye thing I would never have noticed. So yeah, talking about the composite stuff, because I feel like with like me color editing and a bunch of stuff like that, like little tiny like mistakes and like over lighting a certain part of the face, like stuff that your brain just catches that you don't even know what's wrong about it or whatever, like are so subtle. And so the fact that like I'm looking at this and it really just looks like her eyeball and her face and it's like not messed with in any way, and that's like not distracting, is like impressive. That's hard to do.
Now look at this, like there's a problem with it, and the problem is like there's too much blue on her nose. Like her nose looks a little transparent. I don't know if you can see that. Like it sees like the background blue is
A
like
little
on the
bit,
nose.
yeah.
I noticed that. I don't think that's really a huge deal personally, because I've noticed that with like other images too, where like kind of the edges have been a little transparent, and I don't know, I don't think it's a problem. I think it kind of is just another like kind of line of consistency with the art style, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like if I'm going to be bad, if I do it consistently, I can be like, it was a choice. And it's like, yeah, it can be consistently floppy, then it can be like, it's a choice. But yeah, this was like another piece. This is fairly like late on when they were like, we just need more action. And again, this isn't like action packed, so I kind of disappointed them on that front. It's like just if we allude to an action or post action, but it's like around the idea of action. Just sort of enough. This one is another one like just before an action. This is like
Oh.
kind of this is like a gunfight, like a duel about to happen. This original piece, I like, added the shotgun and added the guy in the background and took out some stuff. This piece was originally like completely different. It was originally this guy with a shotgun was looking at a crashed ship, but I was like, it didn't really feel like it had too much focus. Like I took the crashed ship out and replaced it with like somebody else in the fog. Again, more fog and birds, and these birds are kind of used in some other places. But again, this was like the idea that like this is a duel is like about to go down.
Dude, I never got the dual part of it. I've been wondering. I'm like, what is going on in here? But now that I know, that's so
Oh,
dope. I like that. The guy makes way more sense to me now. I was like, are we
oh,
just following this person? Like, what's going on?
what would you guys think if you saw this? Like, would you get duel or what would you think?
I definitely got like my initial thought when I saw it was ooh, showdown. So I
Yeah.
definitely got that. I like
Okay.
that the figure in the back is like, you know, there aren't a lot of details, but just his body language, he's very like, he looks like he's like hunched over. He's very menacing.
Yeah. And again, like anytime you see like the silhouette of like somebody, this is the same guy who was like one of the three people breaking into the airfield. Like this is the same guy who's like on the like the planet Moon. These are the same guys. And this oh yeah, this final one I'm not sure is being included in the main book either. Like this is literally just a guy alone in like a station. This is maybe the only one I have where like somebody's like staring at the camera. Where there isn't like those police like mugshot ones. Again, I don't know. Like this has some of like the sci-fi background hologram stuff, but I kind of faded it enough that it could just be like signs on a wall or something. And in the background, I put Gare de Johannes, to like imply that this is like some kind of French, like Johannes station, like Johannes train station. That's kind of like maybe the French have got access to space. I mean, by God, what could be worse? But it seems I wanted to like put in some like background text that wasn't like generic cyberpunk, like this is like some Chinese text on a wall for some reason. I was like, well, what if I put like just some French stuff on a wall?
I like
But
that.
again,
Yeah, yeah.
it's included. I don't even know what the vibe is here. It's like just some guy, like I don't know. It's a weird one, I think. One
Sometimes
that
you
we
just gotta have some guy, you know?
yeah, I just wanted to create a new type of guy. But like this is someone who's like, yeah, I don't know. This one's none of us are like super hot on it. I don't think I've replaced it like I've made a better one of this one recently. But again, it's basically the same thing of a guy just standing there.
Mm-hmm.
And those are like all the people ones, those are all the ones that are like prominently featuring people. Um Not too many of those. I wanted to like leave it vague enough that people could like insert themselves into it. So I didn't want like a ton of like just people images. Like I know a lot of like Dungeons
Yeah.
and
I
Dragons
mean,
stuff.
ultimately, what you're doing is creating setting, right?
Yeah, I wanted to like just more focus on like mood over like because not like all the like Dungeons and Dragons would have like a character illustration for like each class. Or, like every other page would be like a spread of like a guy fighting a dragon or something. I wanted to like stay away from that and have mostly like setting and kind of mood and feeling.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, when you're
Um,
using people to like accentuate kind of the mood of the scene, it feels like it makes sense. But when they become like subject, it almost like it feels harder to throw in the sci-fi stuff and capture like orbital blues than as
yeah,
opposed to just like this is a beautiful picture of a guy who's at like a train station.
Yeah.
yeah. So this section is all like
This is dope.
in universe art. Like this is the stuff that like if you were in the Orbital Blues universe, you would see this like on a wall and kind of stuff like that. So this is like classified in a newspaper. I spent like too much time on this. Like all of them are like real text. It's like there's like business services, help wanted, bounties, ships for sale, and like miscellaneous classifieds. Like I looked at images of like classified newspapers and like try to make this feel like those. So like this one's crazy. Like I don't know why I made this, but like every one of those things has like there's full text. It's not dummy text or fake or anything. It's like full descriptions of the ship, descriptions of the bounties. In fact, three of the bounties are like Jarandar Jr., Ransom Damood, and Doug. And those like three characters from our Star Wars RPG. So like I've snuck these guys in as like bounties, and nobody told me off for doing that, so I've done that. And then like I had
That's
like
awesome.
I like the idea that somebody was using this as like a coffee cup, and they've been like highlighting stuff that might like be of interest to them, like jobs or kind of bounties and stuff like that. And like for the ships, a lot of the ships in the main like text of the book are like named after named after songs. So I made sure that I'm like all the ships I listed here for sale are like named after songs as well,
Nice.
or like albums. And like one of the things I wanted to do was like make sure that the words I used were consistent, even though people probably wouldn't be paying attention. Like instead of using the word call, like call this number, I use the word com. And instead of like, I tried to think on most of these, I had like the phone number is like the same length. It's like longer than a regular phone number, but it's like the same length. And again, this is like just a lot. I just really enjoy making this kind of stuff. That's like, if you win the Orbital Blues universe, you would see this like around.
I think this is exactly the type of thing this book is meant for, right? Like you're going to
Yeah.
show off these small, tiny details. I think this is a piece you should, because you have a lot to say about it, like focus on. And I think it's super interesting that you put so much work into this. Like it is really crazy. I've read through a lot of it. I was like, dang, I was wondering how much of the text you borrowed or just like outright just created, you know?
Yeah, well, like some of the business services, I like changed. Basically, I took the text from a regular classified advert and changed some of the text, but some of them are like made wholesale from scratch. There's a ton of little fun
Yeah.
things in there. Like one of the magazines for sale is like under misclassified. There's like magazines for sale. Like the magazine's called like Candy O magazine. Like in my mind, they were like adult magazines or something that were for sale. But I just like the name Candy O. So like I just wrote Candy O magazines for sale. Like yeah, I just made a bunch of stuff in here. It's something I really enjoy doing this kind of stuff. I would just like to do this kind of stuff full time somehow.
This is like, I really like this page because I feel like this is probably one of the most organic ways that you could have like sample plots and things to throw into the game. You know, like if this, I don't know if this is in like the main book, but if it is, that'd be a really cool way. Like if you are like running a game and you just need to like, you know, pull up like a one shot or whatever, just look
Yeah,
through the classifieds. Just pull something up on
yeah.
the classifieds.
I hope I'd love to know in the future, like when this is printed in the main book, if like um GMs and other players like out in the world do take some of like the bounties from this and like run them in their own world, that would be kind of super fun. But again,
Yeah.
it's just stuff I had no direction on this. I just wanted to make this. It's like all the text in here is mine. Like, so I don't know how it fits like completely like compared to like the main book. But I was just like, yeah, I just wanted to make it like this myself. Um, this one is not. I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know. They asked me to make this one, and Soul Muppet is like the name of the book, name of the company publishing the main book, Soul Muppet. It's like Soul Muppet Publishing, and he wanted like his publishing company to be um like a music advert or something. So like I made this one for them. I don't know. I just kind of like the idea. The first thing was like I just like the idea of a cassette that says like the future on it. Like, what does that mean? I just like the idea that like this music is like the key to the future. So yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with that. This is what they wanted, but I just like the idea of like a cassette saying the future on it.
Giving us some
Um,
like old school Nintendo or like video game like advertising and stuff, just like how
yeah,
the lighting looks, the grainy, like yeah, the whole setup, everything like that. So I really like that feel to it.
yeah, and this is like an advert for like a computer system. In my mind, Mahara is like the Apple of this universe, but like Apple in the 80s or whatever. So like all ships are like fitted with like a Mahara system. That's like the system that runs all their computers. So like I took simplicity to ultimate sophistication from like an Apple advert from the 80s, I think. Um, and I like just like the idea of like Mahara is like in my mind the like computer system for the galaxy. And again, I tried
Yeah, I
to
like
like
it a lot.
get like technology that looks like it was like old school. That was one thing they like was said when I started the project. Like screens should be like CRT, like old TV style screens. Nothing should be like cool.
Yeah, I
Uh,
really have been liking the CRT like stuff.
yeah, this is just a band poster that I made. All like the bands are like come up with by me. Um, and music's like a big part of Orbital Blues. Like the book is going to like be accompanied by like a cassette album, like when it's actually released in August, and like all the ships are named after like songs, and like there's a lot of like lyrics in the main rule book. So like I wanted to continue that and have a lot of like music in the in universe art, like like this one, which is like Holly Astro and the Flyboys, which is like a band that I like that I've made for these guys. They're kind of shown up in a couple of other things as well. In fact, they're actually showing up in like one of the adventures. It's like rescue this band after like partying on tour or something. And this is like
That's awesome.
based on like a Doors poster from like a show they did in like the 60s. I just like that kind of weird gradient. I think it's also on like a Tom Petty album. I just like that gradient of like, yeah, I don't know, I just like that. And again, I've like made it look kind of creased and stuff to like feel like this stuff's kind of worn in.
Okay, so was that like the inspiration for the music and the sound too? Like, is there a sound in your head to how Orbital Blues goes, or like what this band is like based off of?
Yeah, Holly Astro and the Flyboys are like Blondie. They're like a kind of
Okay.
rock band. A couple of the different bands have like different kind of aesthetics. But yeah, Holly Astro and the Flyboys are like just Blondie for me. So they're like kind of rocky, kind of punkish. But these guys are like very cool. And they've got like a kind of woman fronting them as well, which is kind of like using this image. Yeah. And again, you can see like on the
Sweet.
bottom, like, for more information, call and then phone number. So I just use call instead of call. That's like futuristic enough for me. This is like an
I like
advert
that
for
a
like an
lot.
election poster. And I wanted to like um, just like come up with a bunch of like positions that could exist, and some of them feel like fair. Like you can vote, you're a corporate representative. That's like one of the choices of voting. Yeah, I just wanted to like stuff that felt like kind of vague. I also took that from like the 1974 like US election, that like graphic of like the seven and the four, like together like that in that kind of weird font. I like saw that and like wanted to recreate that and made it here.
This Tron-esque font of like,
Yeah, it's like a weird kind of dated disco kind of thing. Yeah.
I like it a lot. Is there a story to the election? Like, did you have anything to say, like you're thinking, or did you just put random names up there? Because it feels
Yeah,
like
well, in my
too
mind, it was
well
like,
done for it to be like nothing.
in my mind, it was sort of like the election like doesn't really matter. Like they've kind of done it as like have your say, but like all these kind of positions, like they're going to be like filled by whoever kind of fills them, and like by having like corporate representative as like a position you can vote for, and kind of really undermines the idea that like it's any kind of freedom. Like you vote for like who you want to represent you at the company who like runs everything, and like, I wanted to make sure everything was kind of like vague enough. Like enforcement commissioner feels like I guess would be like police commissioner or like some kind of like justice thing. I don't know. So I like the idea of like enforcement commissioner instead of like some kind of like nice language that they would call it like kind of like public police relations. I don't know. I said the idea of enforcement commissioner is like a job. It's kind of brutal.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, you know what's so funny is I totally glossed over the actual names of these things. I'm just like, oh yeah, official positions. That's how my brain interpreted it. But I like that you have an attention to the language that you're using on such like a deep scale, and it's like
Yeah.
really consistent throughout. Because I think it really does add a lot to it. And it's like every little thing that's like this is
Also,
your universe, but just like a little bit different. I those kinds of details I think are really interesting to find out.
yeah, I also liked the like
Sorry. Oh, the corporate representative part was really subtle. That one's really subtle, but it makes like a big difference.
maybe it's like too subtle. I like the idea that it's also paid for by the Allied Council on Confederated Voters, which is like just such like dumb, made up, like nothing. Like it feels like the Heritage Foundation or like the like Cato Institute, like any kind of like generic kind of
Yeah.
dark, like hack group. But I just like the idea that it's called like the Allied Council on Confederated Voters, which is like just like weird and generic enough that I kind of like it.
No, I think this one's really good. I think there's a lot to it.
And again, this is just like another band poster. This is based on a Rush poster. So like in my mind, Jubilee kind of like Rush, kind of like a weird kind of prog rock, dad rock band. Yeah, and like again, this is kind of like real text at the bottom. It's like where you can buy your tickets. Like I based it off like a real poster for Rush. So like the text at the bottom is like Orbital Blues text, but it's kind of inspired by real text. Like it says where you can buy them, like this gate at this station, like these kind of records, and you can use kind of this way to pay. Yeah, this is just another band poster. I just love doing this kind of stuff. Just kind of recreating this to make it feel like a real poster from our world, but kind of like bluesified.
Yeah, I love all the little details, like the comm stuff, and like
Yeah.
I think it really does. I think it'll be like very interesting for people to see, like, because if you look at this, it just looks like a normal band poster. But then it's like the more you read things, the more you're like, oh, okay, this is a space thing. Got it.
Yeah, even though it's not like super apparent to people, I still like making it authentic enough that if they looked, they could like have a nice surprise of being like, oh, neat, this is like real text. That kind of like makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I think people who see it are gonna really appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, and this is the banner poster that was in that bedroom piece earlier, on the wall. Yeah, this is based on a Kiss poster. Deltas to me were like a big rock band, like a big kind of stadium rock band, like classic rock. Kind of weirdly enough, the guy that's making the music for Orbital Blues, like the accompanying cassette, I guess he saw this piece and like now he's making music under the name The Deltas. It's like he said that's with the core rulebook is like in-universe music by the band The Deltas. It's like I got to make them here and then later on got to like flesh them out of being like these are like the full band, this is like who they are, this is where they came from, kind of stuff like that, which is nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a really cool detail to have.
Yeah, this is like an advert for us like visiting a space station. This is based on a recruitment ad for the army, like the 70s or whatever. I just like the idea of like this thing's taking up 2/3, and then the bottom is like taking up text, and like half the right side of the text is like write off for more information, and the left side of the text is like information on an anchor point station. And this is like I didn't paint this. This is like an image from like NASA's like 70s archives of like an actual kind of concept for a space station.
That's so funny. It really captures it. It really does look like some advertising for some crazy space world.
And again, this is like one where like the text is real and kind of makes sense. It's like real advert text. But again, nobody's going to see it. It's going to be like this big or whatever. This is just an advert for clothes. I just liked the idea of like a big space. I saw this picture in the NASA archives. I was like, maybe it's like a little too like real of our universe. But I just like the idea of this big like smiling guy with a yellow background. I also like the slogan, Easy Care Galactic Wear, no one does it like Caldair. I feel like that would be like a slogan that you could have bouncing around. And then again, this is kind of based on a 70s clothing advertisement. But yeah, I just like the idea that you would buy your spacesuits like from like a catalog or something, and it's just like a guy advertising it.
I really like that, yeah. And the
Yeah,
feel of each thing in this is it's like it's good. It's good that you have all these stories.
Yeah, this is just a recruitment poster for like some company. And in my mind, I guess you would scan that barcode and get more information. But I wanted like jobs that were like futuristic but vague, like control technician and grav engineer. So like I just made these as like generic kind of future things.
Yeah, no, I think
This was made
really...
fairly early on. It seems like the style I was working at the time with that kind of like transparent orange thing. Orange is like a big thing in Orbital Blues, orange or blue. This is an advertisement for like an aerospace company. Again, nothing like crazy going on here. I just found like an image of like a guy. It's like these weird pink moon boots. And I was like, that's kind of a weird thing. I also like the idea that the reporter's like interviewing him. And in my mind, this is like a guy who's just like broken some kind of like speed barrier or some kind of like sound barrier. And they would use that image throughout. for the advertisement, which kind of ties into like record breaking speed, record breaking safety. Which I don't know how you like break records and safety, but I just like the idea that that was like part of their slogan.
That's pretty funny.
Is that like
Record-breaking safety. I like that.
yeah? I don't know like how you would like break a record and
These feel
safety.
super cohesive. Like style, like the things you're emulating, I think would be super cool to show, and like all of the like slogans and things are like way too on point.
Yeah. Let me.
It feels like that's like the era that you're hitting.
I know you said you had to finish at 10, John. Sorry, like at 2 o'clock or whatever, John. Is that right?
I had 2 hours. Yeah, I can go for it. How much more exactly do we have?
Not much more. That's basically all. And I just wanted to like run through a couple of like smaller, like quicker pieces.
Yeah, I have it
Um,
open.
let me. It should be paused for a minute because I need to like move to a different window because these other ones are in a different window. Grab them. But I'll be quick because I know you got.
Oh, I was
Stuff.
gonna ask about the covers and stuff too, but I
Oh
guess it's
yeah,
been kind of explained through all of this.
yeah, yeah. Have you seen the cover, Kyle?
I don't think so.
Let me go through the covers. Yeah. Um, so this is the cover for the book.
Oh,
Yeah. This is
yeah,
this this is like the first thing I ever made for it. And this is kind of loosely based on a sketch Sam did where he wanted like a motel sign. And
that
it's kind of
really sets the tone for like
yeah,
the other some of the other images that come up later.
like everything's here, like moons, like big text on boards in universe stuff. Yeah, like this is just kind of the main cover. It originally looks like very different. It was originally like this was small and to the side, and there was like a ton of empty space. But it looks like I think this is the old one. Yeah, this is the old one. Where it was like not in the center and there's like all this empty space, and I just don't think it's as interesting. So I just kind of moved everything around for like the final cover. Um, and that with that cover, there's like, I wonder if I can, where's the other cover? Yeah, and this is like an alternate cover they made for the Kickstarter. It's just the same thing but a night.
Ooh, I really like that one.
There's actually a better version of this that's going to be used. This is like an older version, but yeah, the better ones are basically the same thing. They just wanted like a nighttime cover for like Kickstarter exclusives.
Nice.
Um, yeah, that was pretty fun. I just like got the original image, just like added night filter and like made it look good. Not complicated than that, but like made it look good. Um, was there any that I got to John that you haven't seen?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think the questions I had about like the cover, the aesthetics, you basically covered in everything. So I don't know, man. That seems like a good amount of stuff to like explain. I don't know. Are there things that you're wondering about opinion wise, or like?
No, I think I got a lot of that. Yeah, I just want to know like what I just basically want to know like what people are interested in me writing about and like what do people not really care about me talking about. Because I'm gonna dedicate like a page of the book to be talking about like this thing when people are like really not interested in that. Or, like what is like some things you really like would people be more interested in like having like specific breakdowns of like this is how like I cut and pasted these things together and this is how like I physically made this piece or like this is my thinking behind it or this is like my in-universe kind of law for like why this kind of works like that. Or maybe like a mixture of all three. I don't know.
I think for me, the only ones that I'm not really interested in are the ones kind of towards the end that were like just like slightly modified, like old NASA pictures. Like,
Yeah, I was
I don't
imagining I
know.
could double up on those or like put that section of the book. There's like going to be 3 or 4 of those by page, and I'm just going to be like, this is like what this is based
Mhm.
on, because they're like fun to make, but they're like probably the least interesting to talk about because there's like no the world building there is just like a post you see on a wall in the universe. Like there's
Mhm.
nothing like that I've kind of made in the same way as the other ones, which I think there's
Yeah.
more to talk about.
But yeah, I
How
mean,
about
aside from those, like I really liked everything.
you?
I think the sort of the far off exterior shots were a little bit more interesting to me than like the some of the interior shots, but like
Yeah.
overall everything was really cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And it's going to be kind of interesting because in the main book that's getting printed in August, all my art is like not all of it, but a lot of it is being covered up or being like there's like actual kind of like chapters above it, like text saying like actual like what's going on in the book. So it's going to be like a nice chance to show off the full piece and like kind of show off what people kind of couldn't see. But like the guy who's laying out the main book has like done an incredible job. My art looks like better than ever when he's like laid it out. It's crazy.
Nice.
The
Yeah.
layout from what you showed me looks really, really, really.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Um,
like super high good, high good, high good. It's gonna be super high good. Oh, it's gonna be very good. How about you, John? Was there anything you would like sections you're more interested in talking about, or like less interested in talking about, or like aspects you're more or less interested in?
See, I guess my philosophy with it is like give everything that you have to give because like I don't know how you read like Star Wars books that are kind of like this, how they add these little details about the ship or like the people, you get more of the universe. But when I used to read those like Star Wars ships books, like I kind of would flip through the pictures, I'd flip through different things and then I would like kind of sit with certain things and read it. And I think you're going to get kind of like a wide breadth of people reading it. Like the kind of person who's going to pick up this book is already like on your team. So you don't
Yeah,
have to like, you're not pitching it to like strangers sort of thing. So you can get a little bit nitty and gritty with the details. Um, but I would also say like, yeah, like even like with my videos, some people are going to watch it for 10 seconds and appreciate what they saw. Some people are going to want to watch through the whole thing a few times and do it through. So I think the type of person who comes for an art book, like I've said, is one who wants detail. So I think too much is probably not going to be too much for me personally. Um, yeah, I guess maybe what I would start to get a little bit bored with is if it got like ultra technical. If it was like you were just talking about like, yeah, I composited this into this and this, just like stuff that people who are coming to it might not be able to relate to as much, the like digital art side of it. I think like as a fan, I love seeing the construction of things. But I think if it was only that and it was only like ultra technical readout, like here's this and this, kind of like I guess what my dad leans towards a little bit more, you get lost. So I think if it stays, everything like serves the purpose of you communicating the story, I think you really can't go wrong on.
okay. Yeah, that would be a yeah. Yeah, I was planning on like if I like broke down, I would literally show like this is the beginning pieces, this is the end piece. Like I was kind of reluctant to go like, well, here's step by step like how I made this individual piece, just because I don't think that would be like probably not super interested to people, and I was like I'm giving away everything. But maybe I could like make some
Yeah,
videos, like record my screen, like how I like do a tutorial on how I made some pieces, and then like include those as like a link to those or something in the book.
yeah, even for some, like I think for each style, like one for like the outside, one of the people, one of the ship, one of like I think it would really be cool to see the different broken down composited scenes. But I think if like yeah, if like each one is like okay, here's all the story behind it, and here's like each individual image I got to get this thing. I think it works like 5, 6 times, especially if they're different styles of images that you're seeing. And I do want to see those things. And again, I think some people would really like it. But for me, it's like, yeah, like having those be like pillars of like, here's the breakdown sort of thing. So yeah, there's still some mystery to like, well, he didn't break down this scene, and maybe I'm curious about like how he got that small detail in the corner over there. Um,
Okay.
so I mean, that's all I have to really say. I guess, yeah, I don't know. I'm always just excited to hear like the things that you have to say about these pieces
Yeah.
and like I like the
Yeah.
inspiration part is really really cool to me too. Like when you really know like where stuff's from and comparing that stuff, I think would be cool.
Yeah, I'm just always worried that like if I just write it about like my law stuff, like include some of that, that's gonna feel like kind of self-congratulatory or kind of masturbatory, kind of showing off like, look how smart I am. This is kind of like what I made. So I'm always reluctant to be like talking too much like internally about it because I feel like people might just think like that's kind of like wanky. So like I didn't want to go crazy with that. But if people are interested in it,
I think there's a
Well,
difference between just explaining the process and going into detail of how you did things versus like I did this and it came out really good.
mm,
I did it so well that you can only really tell if you really, really look closely at it. You know, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That'd be a good tone to like kind of. I'm also like not sure what tone I should write the book in. Should I be like fairly serious, or should I be like not goofy, but kind of like more informal, being like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it should be a contrast to the main book because this is a companion piece, right? It's not a standalone piece. You have Orbital Blues, which will be impersonal, like retelling, rehashing of the story. Like the whole RPG book is supposed to give them a world to like let them fill in, with
Yeah.
their whatever. So I feel like the main RPG is going to be impersonal, but to see like where the personality came from to make this, I think is kind of the peek behind the curtain. It's like it's the same reason I like to watch interviews of actors. Like I kind of want to see a little bit of like who's behind that character. What are they actually a little bit like, So I think that like if you let your voice come through a bit in it, maybe not have it be like sup bros, like billboard, like message board type talk, but if it feels more conversational or casual in the sense of like you talking about your feelings more.
Yeah.
And not having to be like really succinct, like beautiful, like concise lines where everything's super well thought out. Like if you're kind of, like even giving your opinions about certain things, or saying
Yeah.
like, oh, next time I wanted to come out like a little bit more like this or like this. I think gives it like a human element to it. They feel like they're looking at your art with you, and they love the art, and so they kind of are trying to understand the person behind it. I don't know. It's kind of how I would come at it, but
Yeah.
that could be my bias.
I've just seen you dropped an image in the chat like 5 minutes ago. I don't know what it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
It's the gas station that I was drawing during this conversation.
Oh,
I thought you could add it to the story, maybe. Like it says Orby Dorby on it.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, we can put that and like definitely like put a pin in that and kind of circle back around to it if I run out of ideas.
Just put this image next to the gas station. Say I started with this one, and then I ended.
Yeah, I like it because it's good. Yeah, I like it was like radiating stuff from it. It's kind of maze you were drawing, but I like it.
There we go. Okay. Well, sweet. Was that helpful? Do you feel like you got like a good amount of content to work with out of this?
Even just like talking aloud or like responding to questions has kind of like made me feel like I have a little bit more to talk about and feel like a little bit more comfortable kind of like talking about stuff. I think it was just like I was freaking out because I was like, I've never written anything before. Now somebody's like, write a whole book about like you. And I'm like, but like now I'm kind of a little more at ease with it now, I think. I know it's like past your time, John, so you can like jump off if you need to.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna get off in a couple minutes, but the thing I want to close with is saying like you wanted to make this because you would always tell me like I have so many of these things that I want to talk about and I want to explain. Like let it be your thing. Like people are coming to you for your art because it's you, and it's hard to like. It's like I know you want to make something people like, but it's like it's gonna be the best thing that it'll be when it's like something you like, So I think like trusting yourself to do that, I think will really bring about what you've already made, which is like a beautiful product,
Yeah, because this is like a book I wanted to make, like a making of book, but I didn't know, like I wasn't planning on making it in 2 months or whatever. I was planning on making it like a year down the line for myself and not for like somebody else to like be published or whatever. I guess this
Memoirs of Orbital Blues.
I guess this way at least it's like getting published, which is like fun. So like I get a physical copy of it. But yeah, I need to like be a little more self-assured, being like people want to read this. Like I am not forcing anyone to read this. People are excited by the art and stuff, so people should be like more on board with this. It's like you said, it's like it's not really the general public right now. It's just like people who backed the Kickstarter are getting this, and it's like not like people are just walking off the street and buying this. Like people who buy all the blues buy this as well. It's like they're connected, so they already know what's going on.
Yeah. The other thing too is sorry, go on, Kyle.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I would keep in mind just like, as much as you like. I mean, you probably don't need to hear this, but like, everyone who gets the bug is not gonna like it. Just period. It's like obviously do the best you can, like try to do the best that you can, but like no matter what you do, there's gonna be some people who are like, oh, like this guy feels like he's patting himself on the back too much, like why didn't he talk about this more? Why did he talk about this so much? You know, so I definitely agree with John. I would just aim to talk about like what you want to talk about, and like, you know, use this conversation as like a reference to like answer things that you maybe hadn't thought about before. But just keep in mind, like, there's always going to be people who are not 100% okay with whatever it ends up being.
Yeah, I guess even I would have to, yeah, even like the losers and haters, I should like, yeah, because I guess like there's a good thing to keep in mind that like ultimately is like my book, like I'm writing it, it is my art that I'm talking about. So there's no way to be like diplomatic enough that I could be like trying to somehow please like every single person that like it has got a copy of the book. I just want to like try and do my best to make something that I think is like very good and that I'm proud of, but like I don't have to like try and like tear myself apart, trying to like discern what like every single person is like going to respond to. I don't know, because like you said, like even like people who do like it will like just connect with like different parts. Like maybe they're more interested in this or less interested in that. There's nothing I can do to like get everyone. I don't think.
Yeah, and honestly, if you stress yourself out trying to make a perfect book, you're never gonna get it done, you know?
Yeah, that's smart. Thanks. Yeah, it's good to
One
keep in
thing too, I
mind.
was gonna say is like that could might grind you. Is like the Orbital Blues is a story of like that universe, Orbital Blues, but this art book is the story of you creating the art. So like even tapping into like how you were feeling, the timelines, the like, you know, peeking behind the curtain will
Yeah,
can bring it all together. And I think seeing like art that didn't make it in, you know, and why, or pieces you were kind of about, stuff like that, or just like I hated this piece for weeks and weeks. I sat on it, you know, and it finally came to this thing, or even the fence detail. Like I think that's like that speaks a lot to like what you went through to get to that piece, which for me is what I would want coming into a product like this.
yeah, because I'm definitely gonna like. I didn't show it tonight because there's like not any time. But like at the end of the book, I was gonna talk about like there's like maybe 5 or 6 or maybe more like unused pieces, like pieces that weren't included, pieces that I made and then decided like weren't going to work, and they're like easy to talk about because they're like from like the neon phase of the project. Like they're kind of fun to show people being like, well, this is why I didn't use it, and this is like why it's not appropriate for this universe and kind of stuff like that. So
I agree.
yeah.
That the man smoking the cigarette one I think is really really cool too. Like that's what really.
Yeah, yeah. I'm always interested in like which ones people like. You know, like Kyle, you like the space view one, and it seems like John, you like a few of the different ones. But it's sort of interesting to see like because like Zach, his favorite is like the airfield one with like the 3 people like at the launch.
That was really good.
It's sort of interesting to see like which one is people's favorite and like why they gravitate towards that. But mine's like the crashing ship. Like I know other people's are like the gas station. I think Sam loves the gas station. Just sort of interesting like which ones people like connect with.
Ooh, do you want me to send like just the 10, like no order that like stand out to me,
Yeah, or even just
or
like
like
narrow
5
it
or 10?
down to 5, like your favorite 5,
5,
and like it's
top
hard.
5.
Yeah,
Cool. Cool. I
yeah.
can do that.
If you use Kyle as well, I don't know which ones you like. I'm sort of interested. Like this wouldn't be in the book with. I'm just like curious, like which ones people liked. Because that was interesting, like what they connect with versus like what someone else connects with.
Yeah, when I work on editing all of this together, I will just keep a list and send it to you.
Yeah, I'll make sure to give you access to like that folder as well. I guess I thought you had it, but I think I sent the wrong folder to John and he sent the wrong folder to you or something. Yeah. I
No
like
worries.
it was nice to get like kind of your first reactions to them, versus like John who's seen them and me who's like seen them for a year and a bit.
Yeah,
Cool.
honestly, probably a better thing that I saw them for the first time today, because if I had seen them before, I probably would have just been like, cool.
Yeah, yeah, like idea of initial reactions. We'll pretend that's how we meant to do it. But like version of it. Like 3 different perspectives. Cool. Well, I'll let you get off, John, so now we've kept you a little.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, man, it was fun. I hope it helps. And it was fun talking to you guys. So have a good
Yeah.
day.
You too,
You too.
John.
Cool. Bye.
What have you got going on, Kyle?
Not really anything. I am actually gonna stop recording this now, though.
This is the best stuff.
Huh?
This is the best stuff. You have to leave this stuff in. Actually,
Oh,
yeah,
you're right. Yeah, I'll just leave it recording.
that's all, folks.